Get my money back if they back out. Because that's what they do. Somebody swoops in at the last day or two and fires them on their property. And I just, I can't go with
But we got enough heat and some other ones.
Just look at the whites in their eyes. Yeah. I'm here for the CRA.
She's on here working on going to claim.
I was looking for you out there. I didn't know.
I didn't talk to you.
Now?
No, but at
About
some
what?
point about the TV in there.
We can throw it away.
Well, about what we're going to do about it.
Okay.
Basically, the question is, do we go?
Yeah.
I kind of,
Because I think we should keep it around that.
So it happened again?
Yes, that same work. Got moved.
Yeah. 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 We can get it with warranty. So it's right. If not, I would try it. And then if we can't get where we want to get, we're going to pay Angelo anyway. Yeah. Yeah. No. No.
Okay, we'll give it a shot.
yeah, he says it's 2:13. And the way he looked today, I believe he was here.
I think we should say
Yeah.
just that. So you said, by the way, we've done some more work and we're thinking,
No, you have an understanding,
this
and
would be
that's a
the,
real good start.
this is the fact that if the TDC does it, yeah. Oh, like what we've already spent? Yeah. Yes, and we spent 3.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the agenda, the City Commission meeting for Monday, October 12th. It is 5:30. Commissioner Hurley will be giving the invocation. Please rise. Thank you. We have no proclamations tonight. However, we have a special presentation from the NCAA Division I Girls Softball Tournament. If Miss Allison Strange could take the podium, please.
Good evening. All eyes on me. This is a full house. Whew. I don't know what I did to get all this attention. Someone's in for trouble tonight, right? I don't know. We'll see. I'm Allison Strange. I'm actually with the Spring Games. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Spring Games, we are the world's largest college softball event. In 2020, if we had been able to complete our series here in Lake County, we would have hosted 474 unique colleges for a total of 508 teams with 2,300 games over 42 days at 42 fields at 10 complexes across Central Florida, with over 1,800 of those being played here in Lake County. And we've been here at Sleepy Hollow since 2016. And so we love our friends here in Leesburg. We love Sleepy Hollow. In fact, we had a mare throw out the first pitch at our first set of games here, 5 years ago it was. Well, we were recently contacted by some of our friends at the Big Ten. And the news has not yet come out. And it's very inside, except for me and all my public meetings that I'm going to on this issue. But the Big Ten is about to announce that its teams have to go to 40 conference games for the 2021 season. For those of you who are football fans, you may recall that the Big Ten was the first one to come to market and say, we're not going to have football in 2020. And then they changed their mind. But the point is they lead the NCAA Division I, especially the Power 5 teams. So we're all anxiously watching the Big Ten. When we got the call from one of the most influential coaches in college sports, who happens to be one of the Big Ten coaches, she said, Allison, we're looking for a place to play some of our 40 conference games. If you're familiar with the Big Ten, you know that it is very, very difficult to get any sort of softball games outside in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, in the month of March, which is when they'll have to do it. So they are looking for a venue, and I suggested Sleepy Hollow. I'm getting a little bit of feedback here. So I suggested Sleepy Hollow for a number of reasons that I can go into. If anyone has questions about them, more than happy to answer those. But the point is, it's a big enough venue to host 14 teams, all of whom could potentially be carrying 100, 200 fans, because we can socially distance and we can use the space in the outfield at that park, space that we don't have at a traditional fast pitch, permanent fencing type facility. They were very excited about that, and actually the coaches on Thursday voted to host 2 weekends in Leesburg, if you'll have us, in 2021. At the Spring Games, we're also willing to move one of our Division I weekends from Madera Beach to Leesburg to give you 3 weekends of Division I college softball. And we don't yet know what's going to happen when the announcement comes from the Big Ten and what that might mean for Leesburg for the type of facility that we would need. Now, what we're proposing are upgrades to Sleepy Hollow. Obviously, as it is, it's a community park, and we are talking the best softball in the nation. These are the types of games that you see on ESPN in June. So they're small changes that actually come with a small price tag relative to building the kind of facility that you would expect to need for these kinds of teams. We went to the Tourism Development County for Lake County. My days get mixed up. It was last week, I think it was. Was it last week? Last Monday. Things are moving fast. And it was positively received, truthfully. What I basically asked the county to do, completely outside of its normal policies and procedures, because this is not our normal policy and procedure, is to match the money that the city of Leesburg has already spent at Sleepy Hollow in the last 120 days, as if Leesburg had submitted a capital fund application to tap into the capital fund account for the tourism development. It was positively received, but the TDC does not have the power to grant that request. There is a normal process, and we do not have time to follow it, and the city did not apply before it spent its money, which is also outside of its normal process. However, the Board of County Commissioners has put this item on their agenda on October 27th to be considered as an outside of the normal process type of project. The TDC has called a special meeting for this Friday at 3 p.m. to consider Leesburg's application. So I'm here tonight in front of all these people that I don't know how they feel about college softball. I'm hoping they love it. Like the other 2.5 million people who watched the World Series 2015 when we surpassed baseball. Not that we're bragging, but I'm hoping that we can get, first of all, your support to upgrade your existing beautiful facility to a Power 5 Division I standard, that we have your blessing to continue to seek these kinds of events and activities here in the city of Leesburg, and to potentially give me the assurance that I need to be able to continue these communications with these coaches, that we will in fact have such a facility for them here in Leesburg as they go through this process of approval with their athletic directors and their Big Ten conference. So I can answer any questions. I don't know how you want me to approach it.
Turn that on so everybody can hear me. Actually, it's essentially what we're looking for from the commission is your blessing to move forward and spend up to about 300 grand. Allison didn't mention the improvements that we need to do, but they are relatively minor compared to the facility. I think we built a facility for $6 million in '05, something like that. And at that time, the TDC gave us 500 grand. So the improvements that we would need to put in are roughly upgrading the infields. They want a little more clan sand base versus kind of our dirt base. They need to put in a more permanent infield fence that marks their outfield. Our fields, I think, are about 300 feet deep. The NCAA plays at 225. The infields also actually need to come in a little bit. They have a specific distance, batting cages, some backstop, and those type of things. So all those are doable. To get it done, we do need to start making the improvements. So the bad news is it is a little bit of a gamble. The good news is we really need to be able to give Allison tonight the ability to get back to the NCAA and say, we can do this. And so they are firm in their decision, and it moves forward, and Lake County doesn't lose the opportunity. Obviously, the opportunity is huge to bring that level of competition to the fields with the resources that it will bring. So when this news did pop, Allison actually got with Travis, who got with me. We visited TDC. So I think the TDC, I felt like they were ready to open the checkbook. They had a good discussion. Commissioner Sullivan was very much on board from his comments. So we feel pretty comfortable that the county will get a favorable recommendation from the TDC on Friday, and then hopefully the board will approve something come Tuesday. But in that intermediate gap, I really requesting that the commission say this is something we want to do. We've got 300 grand. I would go to your capital reserve funds where we have about 4 million and use some of that money. I'll also let you know too that our DST money is looking a little bit better than projected, so that can slide around. So I don't think the 300 is going to have the biggest hit. And then the only other thing I would add in as far as the economic impact, I think Allison touched on it, but kind of the NCAA at this rate has got 3 levels. They're level 1 at the minimum, which is housing the players, which we're going to say you've got to stay in Lake County / Leesburg, 1,500 beds, so that's a good number. And then if depending on where COVID's at, you could get small groups or big fans. So that 1,500 is a minimum, and if COVID does well, you can really see that number expand with options for a second and third year. So I think it's a great opportunity for the city, and with your blessing, we'd like to move forward and give Allison the go, give Travis the charge to start getting with some engineers and folks and contractors to get this done, and then go back to the county and see what they'll do to open up the checkbook for us.
Okay, could we hear from the commissioners, please? Commissioner Peterson.
I'll keep my comment. Can you hear me? Okay, I'll keep my comments short. I fully support it. I think it's great. I might add one comment. Having been out to Sleepy Hollow recently, I would just say the city needs to figure out a way to pave the road from Sleepy Hollow into the complex. It's a beautiful complex. We got a road with potholes and needs to be resurfaced, but I fully support it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hurley?
No, I support it. I think it's a great opportunity. You know, we keep the Pat Thomas Field, and that's just for the Leesburg Lightning. And I think for us to have a facility like this that attracts other teams and people from outside the area to come in was one of the reasons that we built it. And so obviously to be able to utilize it on a college level and to bring in the economic aspects of it as well, I think it's exciting for us and kind of nice to be a part of something like that. So I'm in.
Commissioner Christian?
Thank you.
I think when Al called me, I think it was a very exciting opportunity. I would just want to ask about the time frame of us moving forward and getting approval from on the Big Ten. I would hate to see us go spend $300,000 and then somewhere in between the Big Ten says no. So I would like make sure that we have definite approval from the Big Ten before we go out and spend $300,000. And Travis, once we do these fields, make the modifications, are we then able to go back to our youth programming, or is this going to be strictly economic college-based programming?
No, that's one of the, not that the Big Ten thing's not exciting, but one of the really exciting things is they're going to use it 3 weeks out of the year. We have it 49. So we're going to have premier top level fields that are going to be as good as any in the state of Florida that we get to play t-ball and rookie baseball on.
Okay.
So we will definitely be back playing our stuff in there.
So moving the fence won't affect what you're doing?
No, so we're not actually moving the fence. We'll bring in a nice temporary fence.
Okay.
And then we'll use from the temporary fence at 225 to the 300 foot to have, like we were talking today, people could bring in blankets, picnics, but then also put some bleachers out there. So that we'll use that space for spectators, but we'll keep the 300-foot fence out there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I think the clay is well overdue, Al, because we've been complaining about the hard clay for about 10 years. So.
Commissioner Robach?
I think it sounds great. I fully support it.
Okay, I'm in favor of this as well, to bring visibility to the city of Leesburg. It's going to be some great economic development potential. And in addition to the NCAA, we've also got other opportunities coming that are big time. So I am approved of this. I am standing behind it completely. My only question is, if we start making modifications out there, and I saw the modifications we need to make, a lot of those are not going to be long time preparations, but when do you expect the first games would be played? We have enough time, I would think, to do all this.
We have time to address the timeline for the commissioners who have asked those questions. We're expecting the athletic directors to make their final decision within the month. Okay. So we're looking at early November to have a final decision from the Big Ten. I would not, unless you said we want to do this no matter what, even encourage breaking ground until we have a contract, right, a multi-year contract with the Big Ten. So we're looking to have that within the month. If we don't get that, then we put the brakes on it. Right now, what we want to do is get the Big Ten moving forward, knowing that we have assurances, and get our contractors moving forward. The contractors have already started talking to, have earmarked January, the first couple weeks in January to do their work. They're telling me it's 2 to 3 weeks worth of work. And then the teams are debating on the 2 weekends they'd be looking at. The opening weekend for Division I in 2021 is Valentine's weekend. So we are guaranteeing that weekend with an event we already have that is currently in Madeira Beach that we would move to Leesburg. And then the Big Ten would either be coming 2 weeks later or the following week and into the first or second week of March. We're in that range.
Okay, good. This, by the way, if this COVID ever gets over with, second and third year of this contract hopefully would move to not only full fans, but also full families, which will up those nights in the hotel spent and bring a lot more money to Lake County. So, yes, I'm in favor of this.
Yeah, we hear you have a new Marriott coming in.
Yes.
Yeah, we know. We're excited.
Okay, you need anything else? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, before we start the official meeting, I just want to let you know that number 6A which is about the overlay for the Naval Warfare Center, is being pulled tonight. So that'll move to December 14th. That should be the only change on the agenda for you. Okay, public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you are here about one of the development issues, particularly the RO residential, which is County Road 44 and south of Clark Street, you will be given time when that comes up to give your thoughts and ideas and whatnot. So is there anybody with regular public comments at this time? Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, City Manager, City Clerk. Tracy Samples, Downtown Leesburg Business Association President. Downtown Leesburg Business Association Executive Board would like to thank the Leesburg Commissioners for their consideration in including our organization in the civic funding. As a reminder, our mission is to foster interest in and awareness of the diversity of downtown Leesburg and to promote the success of individual businesses operating there through publicity, creative marketing, and exciting public events designed to attract new and repeat visitors to our vibrant and historic downtown area. However, we need to cancel our 2 annual fundraisers. We had to cancel our 2 annual fundraisers, the Chili Cook-Off and the Barbecue and Blues, due to COVID-19. As a result of our economic challenge, we will not be able to renew one of our 2 billboards, and we have substantially reduced our sponsorships for our downtown events, such as the Leesburg Art Festival, and advertising and promoting in general. As you can see what Alan passed out, our Leesburg billboard and our ad, the city's consideration would help us fund our upcoming billboard promotion and ads being placed in various publications, plus social media, and to help promote downtown, its businesses, and other events. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else that'd like to speak at this time? Okay, we will move ahead to the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call. And 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items you wish to have pulled tonight?
C4 and 4C5.
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
Nothing for me, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yep, nothing for me.
Okay, I'd like to have 5B2 pulled for discussion, please. Could we have a motion to accept all other items?
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, 5B2, would somebody introduce, please?
I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a construction services agreement with Sandpick, Inc. for the renovation and expansion of lift station number 35 located at U.S. Highway 441 and Wilco Drive Airport entrance for an amount of $699,000 and providing an effective date.
Motion for approval, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Anybody else wish to talk about this? Okay, the reason I pulled this was, 1, the amount of money, since we did just do work on this lift station, $699,000 seems rather high, And I see that they also are to do the landscaping and whatnot around. Now, what happens to the money that's already been spent on the landscaping?
Two different issues there, and Cliff, if you can help me out. I don't recall that we spent a substantial amount on this lift station, probably more pumps and these type of things. This project is a major expansion of that lift station. The problem that we have with that lift station is it stinks. And so we do, it's probably our #1 complaint lift station in the business corridor there. We get a lot of complaints from the airport folks. We get complaints from the mall. We get complaints from other folks. The best way to fix the odor issue is that lift station's just not big enough, and we've got some growth going on in those issues. So that's the reason for the upsize. The landscaping, I don't know if you mentioned landscaping for the R441, that landscaping,
No,
this is separate and apart. Yeah, this is separate and apart so that we can try to screen it and protect it better. In Tracy's plans at the airport, we are eventually trying to get Wilco to be the primary entryway. So we want to get that lift station working right, smelling right, and out of sight, out of mind. Cliff, did I cover everything correctly?
How much property is that going to take to fulfill that size?
It will take up the same amount of space as it does now, and essentially what we're doing is we're doubling the capacity of the lift station. Right now it currently runs almost 24/7, which gives us very little time to react if something were to go wrong. So by doubling the capacity, it's going to give us a little more time for that and ease our system a lot more from the overload that it's currently experiencing.
Okay, next question. Is it going to be big enough to handle all the growth over in that area?
It is, and we're also going to be adding odor control system. So the intent is also to eliminate the odor problem.
Yeah, those poor people have been putting up with that for a long time. Is there any other discussion from the audience on this? Nope, thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, resolutions. Would somebody like to introduce #1, please?
We've got 5C4
Yep.
and 5.
You're right. Sorry about that.
I will introduce and ask you about that only.
Thank you.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a utility construction reimbursement pioneering agreement with Hanover Land Company, LLC, for construction of a potable water main along County Road 48 and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion?
And my question is that is this large enough for future growth in the area outside of these developments, or should the city be considering sizing up beyond what the developers required?
No, we did some modeling on that, and it is properly sized, and that's why we're entering in a pioneering agreement, because if it wasn't, then we couldn't hook up to it, and they would not be able to get reimbursed for the cost of installing it.
Okay, and the same then with 5C5?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison? Yes. Now, I know we talked about 5C5. We still need to go through the voting process on that, if you could introduce it.
I'll introduce, ask that it not be read, and move for approval.
Can we have a second, please?
Second.
Any other discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, now 6A, as I mentioned before the meeting, we have pulled this. 6B, would somebody like to introduce, please?
Introduce and recommend, read by Tyler only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, adopting the new Greater Leesburg Community Redevelopment Area Plan for the Greater Leesburg Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, and extending the terms for the Greater Leesburg Community Redevelopment Agency through the year of 2050, providing that tax increment revenues derived from the existing redevelopment area will be deposited into the already existing redevelopment trust fund, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion from the audience? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. 6C, would somebody introduce, please?
Introduce and recommend read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the text of the future land use element of the comprehensive plan for the villages of Westlake Area A and Area B to establish community support districts, CSD, amend level of service to include community support districts, and amend permitted uses on property generally located north and south of Florida's Turnpike and north of County Road 470, and property located east of the Sumter County line, north of Austin Merritt Road, and north and south of County Road 48, as legally described in sections 6, 7, 8, 9, 16, and 17, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, and Section 31, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, and Sections 5, 6, and 7, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
This is first reading. Any discussion on this item? Second reading will be held on December 14th. 6C, would somebody introduce, please? I'm sorry, 6D.
I'll introduce now to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the City of Leesburg Land Development Regulations, Article 11, Section 25-818, delimitations, establishing the definition of age-restricted development, and establishing the definition of community support districts for property generally located north and south of Florida's Turnpike and north of County Road 470, and property located east of the Sumter County line and north of Austin Merritt Road and north and south of County Road 48, as legally described in sections 6, 7, 8, 9, 16, and 17, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, and Section 31, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, and Sections 5, 6, and 7, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
This again is first reading regarding the villages. Is there any discussion? Second reading will be on December 14th. 6D, would somebody introduce, please?
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, to modify the Chapter 163 Development Agreement between the City of Leesburg and the villages of Westlake Area A for a development of approximately 1,382.31 acres, providing a binding contract and amendments for long-term development, including but not limited to density, intensity, land uses, and process, approving development rights and land development regulations for a property generally located near Florida's Turnpike, the Lake County and Sumter County line, and north of County Road 470, as legally described in sections 6, 7, 8, 9, and 16, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Okay, this again is first reading for the villages. Area A, is there any discussion? This second,
Mayor?
yes.
On these first readings for items E, F, we got to go back and hit C real quick. E, F, or C, E, F, and G. We need a motion to transmit that to the Department of Economic Opportunity.
Okay,
So if you hit this one and then go back and catch C and then grab the others.
okay. C, D, E, and F, was that correct?
C, E, F, and G.
C, D, E, F, and G. Okay, let's go ahead and take care of this one first, which would be E, which would be F. Would somebody like to introduce, please?
I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida to modify the Chapter 163 Development Agreement between the City of Leesburg and the villages of Westlake Area B for a development of approximately 1,230.42 acres, providing a binding agreement and amendments for long-term development, including but not limited to density, intensity, land use, and process, approving development rights and land development regulations for property generally located near Florida's Turnpike, the Lake County and Sumter County line, and north of County Road 470, as legally described in Section 31, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, and Sections 5, 6, and 7, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Okay, this also is first reading, and it's the villages. Is there any discussion?
I'll make a motion to submit to the state.
Thank you. Question on G. This is not the villages. This is something else.
I'm answering your question.
Yep, that's fine.
Correct. G is not the villages, but it is a first reading
And you still have to
of
send
an
it to the
action
state?
that's larger than 10 acres, so it needs to go to the
Okay,
state.
thank you. Just wanted to make sure we didn't send the wrong thing. Would somebody introduce 6G as in...
Sorry, do we need to vote on the motion?
We're going to go back and do it as a lump. We're going to go back with all the initial, okay? So I just need a 6G to be introduced, please.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 83.5 acres, being generally located east of County Road 44 and south of Clark Street, as legally described in sections 1, 9, 10, and 16, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, provided that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 1 and providing an effective date.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and en masse do C, D, E, F, and G, and this is only to send to the state.
If you wouldn't mind, if we could do G separately, because I'll need to abstain from that one.
Correct. Okay. C, D, and E, and F. This is going to the state. 6G, which I know a lot of people are here tonight for that, it's being opened up to you after we take care of the paperwork here. So can we have a motion for 6D, E, and F?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay, let's do this one. Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, 6G. Mr. Roebuck needs to abstain from this. Could we please have a motion to move this to the state?
So moved.
Thank you. Roll call. Andy?
Okay, that's right. Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Buck abstain. Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, this 6G, can we please open this up so we can have discussion in the audience? Somebody like to introduce again, please?
I'll introduce.
Let me read it again.
Go ahead, yes.
Yes. Title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 83.5 acres, being generally located east of County Road 44 and south of Clark Street, as legally described in sections 1, 9, 10, and 16, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 1 and providing an effective date.
Okay, again, this is first reading. We're going to open this up to the commissioners first and then to the audience. Commissioner Roebuck, you wish to drop out of this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Roebuck has abstained from this. Commissioners, any discussion on this item? Folks in the audience, please come to the podium to discuss any issues on this. Give us your name and your address, and you're limited to 3 minutes apiece, please. Go ahead.
My name is Jim Spiker, 34052 Matthews Cove, in Leesburg. We also own property on the boulevard in Leesburg, as well as some property in Groveland. Our house abuts directly to the southeast side of this development. The house behind us has a house directly on the other side of the fence that would be part of this development. The lot size that would be up against this fence is roughly just slightly smaller than our under roof is on our house. We can fit about 3 of these onto each lot that our homes are on. It's going to have a tremendous effect on our home values in a negative way. No one is, the houses, the 16 houses that abut up against this, using very conservative numbers, have an average value of north of $650,000. We haven't been given an exact number on what these houses will be built at or be sold because they didn't have a builder yet. I know that the property is being sold at a premium price. This is going to definitely affect how much leeway the builder has or the developer has to make any changes to get this more in line with the surrounding area. The worst possible scenario is that these houses go in and become rental properties eventually. This is the type of neighborhood that you would generally see that in. This doesn't solve any immediate housing issue in the city of Leesburg. This is a project for far off in the future. This builder has made a $750,000 donation to running the sewer and water lines out to his other development that is currently been started about 3/4 of a mile to a mile down the road. I understand that he would like to recoup some of that money. I don't think that he should be able to do that at the expense of an already existing neighborhood. There are houses up to, one of the houses that borders is 14,000 square feet. These houses are nowhere near in line with the surrounding area. They shouldn't consider bringing in a project of this size and abutting it directly up against existing homes, especially considering the lack that Leesburg has right now. If we're going to bring in specialists and doctors to the new hospital, we're going to try and add, we want to bring in industry. Not everybody's going to want to live in one of these tract home neighborhoods. In the time it would take before they even start on this, that leaves plenty of time for more of this to be developed in a better area. This land could be developed in a much more responsible way that is more in line with the surrounding neighborhoods without being such a dramatic change just over a fence line. My house particularly sits about 25 feet above where this is going in at, so there's no berm or fence that's going to help with the impact of that on my home. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Kathy Hadaway with Polis & Bennett, 2602 East Livingston Street, Orlando, and I represent the applicant for items G, H, and I. Because you are opening each item separately, I'll make my comments with regard specifically to each application. So I will start with the annexation, which is item G. So if we could. So tonight, As you know, I wanted to make sure everyone in the audience is aware, there are 3 applications under review. The first is, of course, this item, item G, the annexation, and tonight is the first reading from the City Commission. It's actually item H, which is the future land use or comprehensive plan amendment item that you will vote on this evening to transmit up to the state. So that is item H. And then item I is the first reading of the PUD zoning ordinance. So specifically with regard to the annexation, just for the record, this property is within the Lake County Leesburg Interlocal Service Boundary Area or Agreement, or ISBA. It is within that area and thus is eligible to be annexed into the city of Leesburg. That is all the comments I'll make on the annexation application, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? I'd like to point out a few things with respect to this new development around the Silver Lake area. According to greatschools.org, Treadway Elementary is rated about average in school equipment. This school has below average results in how well it's serving disadvantaged students, and students perform about average on state tests. Large disparities in suspension rates exist at this school, which is concerning. Treadway Elementary currently has 927 students enrolled in grades K through 5. Of those 927 students, 80%, or 741, come from low-income households. The school currently has a 17-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, below the state average of 18-to-1. Additionally, the school currently has a 479-to-1 student-to-counselor ratio, which also falls below the state average of 554-to-1. The current ratios are a good thing. However, we can expect an additional average of at least 1 child per home, according to current Lake County statistics. It is incumbent to take that average with a grain of salt, though, as these homes are specifically designed as starter homes, which typically will bring 2 or more children per household. A look at Leesburg High School shows that it ranks number 434 among 1,088 high schools in the state of Florida per U.S. News and World Reports. The same publication ranks DeVary's High School at number 277 in those rankings. Without diving too much further into statistics, we can all predict the adverse effect that this will have on an already overburdened and pedestrian school system. The University of Florida has recently acquired our local hospital in Leesburg. Salaries for doctors at UF range from $115,000 to $124,000 per year. Salaries for nurses at UF Health average $73,000 per year. Aren't these the types of professionals that we should be seeking to attract to our area? They will not be interested in tract homes with 0 lot lines with little in the way of educational opportunities for their children. I will close this with saying that I am not opposed to building homes in this area or further growing our city. However, it is incumbent upon us to do so in a responsible manner. As this proposal stands, it is a bad transfer of wealth from people that have busted their tails to live the American dream. Do you want to be remembered as the person who shattered this dream for so many people? Can you look your children and grandchildren in the eye and tell them that you did the absolute best that you could to ensure a prosperous future for them? Your vote here today will answer both of those questions.
Thank you. Excuse me, sir, the person that just spoke. Sir, we need your name, please.
Oh, Luke Zachary, 33811 Spring Drive. The height was a formality.
Thanks.
Claude Ucorn, 8729 Spring Court, Leesburg, 34788. Just get right to the point, and I say Leesburg is being ruined by these people. The reason I say that is, sure, we have a nice building here, nice landscaping, so forth and so on. 441 is horrendous. Traffic cannot handle the traffic now. 44, same thing. Speed limit by the airport is supposed to be 45. I dare you to do 60 and not get run over. 44, 70 plus miles an hour. I know. One day I was doing 60 and this car passed me in a turning lane like I was standing still. There's been 4 deaths on 44 right in front of where this development is going to go. This year alone, 4 deaths. It's nice, yes, you're building nice pavilions and so forth and so on, but you're forgetting about the quality of life for the average citizen. Basically, they're being tossed aside. Silver Lake, I've been on Silver Lake for 30 years. People come from miles to bike, run, walk, whatever. I see people with kids, babies, and strollers. Can't do that anymore between the dealerships, test driving their cars, the college, well, I'm sorry, university, college, the apartments, and people cutting through now. At the last meeting, people said, oh, people are not going to go out of their way to go around Silver Lake. Bull. They come from Scottish Highlands, which is on 473, to get to either Lowe's, Cracker Barrel, and so forth and so on. I've seen people, I know for a fact, a friend of mine from Umatilla, pulling a trailer, came down Radio Road, Silver Lake Drive, to get to Lowe's. So, and Lake Griffin Harbor, which is down a couple of 100 yards away from 441, they come up 44, cut across Silver Lake Drive. I'm sorry, but basically you're ruining a beautiful area to start with. And it's going to be ridiculous for traffic that's going to go around Silver Lake. We actually have put a gate in our right-of-way for a little subdivision to get to Silver Lake because people were cutting through a private drive, a little private drive. People were cutting through there with trucks, you name it, they went through there. So if you want to build this, it's ridiculous.
Please don't shout out. Thank you, sir.
My name's Judy Guy. I live at 9475 Silver Lake Drive. I back up to the failure that Leesburg annexed in that golf course. It seems like Leesburg is picking property after property after property in a nice area, hoping to somehow clamp on to somebody else's home values and just letting it fail. That golf course is a disaster. There's a tree that got hit by lightning behind my house. It's still laying there. Nobody takes care of it. So you're going to annex another piece of property that nobody's going to take care of because nobody's going to buy this stuff. Leesburg does not need this type of housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to make one comment.
Yes, sir.
I was supposed to mention it and I forgot it. But basically when I said that Leesburg is ruining the life of the average citizen and so forth and so on, Leesburg is ranked in the top 10 as the most dangerous city in all of Florida. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan McCormick. My wife Ann and I live at 9233 Silver Lake Drive in one of the few remaining historic homes of the original Silver Lake estates. In 6 years it will be 100 years old. I was introduced to Silver Lake 52 years ago when I graduated from high school in Wildwood, Florida, and commuted over to Leesburg. I met my wife. She wasn't my wife then, but I met her, and we started dating, and we just loved to be together. And so we got the bicycle built for two at Lake Sumter Community College, and we rode around Silver Lake every time that we had a chance when we were between classes. Not only did I fall in love with Silver Lake, because Wildwood, and I would say Sumter County in 1968 didn't have anything like Silver Lake Drive, where people could walk freely down the road. But not only did I fall in love with Silver Lake, I fell in love with Ann. And we've been married 50 years and 4 months, and started at Lake Sumter and has now found us at Silver Lake. We're pleased to be a part of Leesburg's celebrated past history, which is great. As we planned retirement, we thought about where we would like to live. We wanted a historic lakefront, a rural area with abundant wildlife and old-growth trees. We preferred quiet, rural solitude and a varied community of all ages versus a common retirement community with houses all alike, people of the same age and no elbow room. We bought our home in 2006. We did a lot of work to restore it back to its original state, and we're in the process of renovating a boathouse on the lake there. We felt like our retirement, our dreams have been answered. We enjoyed quiet walks on the lake, visiting with neighbors out for walks. We love that Silver Lake Drive hosts many fundraising walks, runs. We see bicycling groups pass by together. Folks from all around the area park at the college or dog park and enjoy a quiet walk around Silver Lake. Mothers and dads stroll with their babies in strollers. We have added a bench and invited the walkers to rest under the shade of our oak trees. In essence, Silver Lake Drive has doubled as a road and a 3-mile park for people. I talked with several of our neighbors, and we feel like that upwards of between 300 and 400 people enjoy that per week. Silver Lake. They start in the dark and they end in the dark. Never did it occur to us that our quiet life surrounded by eagles, wild turkeys, Florida panthers, black bears, foxes, bobcats, swallow-tailed kites, a wide variety of Florida birds and animals could be changed forever by some of our neighbors and the approval of this board or this commission. Now our neighbors, actually we've already got 490 homes and condos that are approved. With the addition to that now, it would come to, of what we're talking about tonight, it'll come to 755 total units. If this inaction moves forward, it will destroy a peaceful life in the country surrounded by wildlife. The residents of Silver Lake will feel betrayed by our neighbors as well as the city of Leesburg. A vote for approval of this matter will result in quiet walks gone, joggers gone, wildlife gone, fundraising walk runs gone, bicycling gone, mothers and dads with their baby strollers gone, a 3-mile park road gone. Increased traffic and speeders will be here to stay. There's a song, and by Pete Seeger, and I hope that Leesburg does not follow that song. And many of you, maybe the older ones of us, remember this. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a blue one and a yellow one and a pink one and a green one, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky, and they're all just the same. I encourage you to base your decision on the desires of the citizens and not the increased tax revenues for the city of Leesburg. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Todd Drennan. I live in the former Herlong and Robach home at 9307 Silver Lake Drive. First off, I want to mention I very much respect the Robach family, and both the family and individuals. I consider them friends. I expect them to be friends still when all of this is over, no matter how it turns out. All of these things are obviously a little bit contentious for people, so just wanted to make sure that that's out there. I'm an architect, which also means I have never seen a piece of land that I haven't wanted to develop in some way or another. That's what we do. We envision how things can be in the future. So my concerns with this development of this property is maybe how it's being developed and not with the fact that it's being developed. Couple of thoughts. The traffic on Silver Lake Drive, right now it's a walking path as much as it is a road. I drive on the other side of the street as much as I drive on my side of the street when I'm going to and from work. I did a test today. I drove from the head of this new subdivision to Treadway Elementary School. I did it in 3 ways. One, I went north and I drove Post Street, 5.5 minutes. One, I drove south and went through Silver Lake, 6.5 minutes. So school, that's 11 minutes. That means that is not going to be the route that people drive. They're going to go through either Post Street, that's what I hope they do, or they're going to drive through Silver Lake, which are both about the same amount of distance. So I think when a traffic study gets done, to do just a traffic study that deals with 44 is not adequate. We need to look at what happens on Silver Lake. The second thing, the minimum size of house is 1,600 square feet, I believe, if I remember right from the Planning Commission meeting. That's about 1/3 of the size of the houses that are on Silver Lake and the other Silver Lake neighborhoods, which are off of Meadow Drive, which is the feeder street on the east side. So I think it's significantly smaller, and that should be of concern. Small doesn't necessarily mean cheap. However, that means that there needs to be solid HOA things to hold a high quality standard. Normally, when you have small, and it means nice, you have things like Celebration Development. You have things in downtown Orlando or one of the other big cities. You have things on a beach or some other thing that requires the property to be very small. I think when we're out here in a more rural area, cheap is going to mean not very well designed homes, because if anyone has more money to spend, they're likely to go for a little bit more square footage and a little bit more land. Some of these lots are as small as 50 feet wide, which means the houses will be 40 feet wide. That really means a 20-foot wide garage with a 16-foot attached house. That's really not the definition of quality. There is a need for that type of housing, so I don't condemn that type of housing. Also, this is in 2 jurisdictions. Those on Silver Lake and in the neighborhoods to the east will be in the county. That means we don't vote for you on this council. And the people in this subdivision will be in Leesburg, which means when we have concerns or problems or other solutions that need to happen, we've got 2 jurisdictions to try to deal with, and one of them we don't vote for, although I appreciate you having us here to talk tonight. So those are some of my concerns. I think there need to be more thorough studies, and I would hope for larger house sizes or something that otherwise mitigates the quality of homes being put in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Joanne Duncan, and I reside at 9285 Silver Lake Drive. And many of the things that I have to say pretty much piggyback what everyone else has said and what has been said at the previous meeting of the Planning Committee, which was their recommendation not to approve this project. One of the things that I would like to just share is that it is very challenging with all the area around us, which is all Lake County, that is being annexed in with the city. And while I appreciate all the growth, we would appreciate some consideration to those that are not being annexed in, and the property, the values and the quality of life that we do have regarding that. And while I appreciate the people who have voted all of you on here, we don't, as he said, don't have that opportunity to do that. And so it is extremely challenging that, our livelihoods are in the hands of others who have, entrusted you to take what is being set before you and make the most wise decisions. Traffic is an extreme concern. As I said at the last meeting, I call Silver Lake Drive the largest sidewalk in probably Florida, which is beautiful, and that is what makes that area so special. We have bald eagles there. I mean, it is rare that people get to see those, and yet we have them frequently there on that area, and I'm extremely concerned that with this type of a development that is going on all around us, that type of wildlife is not going to be in our area anymore. With the traffic, it also concerns me that, you know, at some point when they're talking about the cut-through, Clark Street does come down to Silver Lake, and while it's not been mentioned, that is an extreme concern of mine, that that's going to be snuck in at the end. And then here we are, all the traffic studies have been on 44, but the true impact is going to be right there. And while I know that there's 2 residences there, one of those residences is owned by Mr. Roebuck's father, and so, you know, at what point is that property not going to be sold, and then that's going to be a throughway, which then may also then give those people, all of that in that development, access to the lake. We have a private lake, and we really enjoy that. And, you know, and while we entrust the people of our community to only allow people access onto that lake, I understand we don't own the lake. I understand that. But, however, the people have purchased there and bought property there to live on the private lake. And so then when you have what they've said, close to 800 new homes, then everybody and their brother, that whole quality of life of having a private lake is no longer going to be. The schools are busting at the seams. I'm truly concerned about the infrastructure that has not taken place prior to, and we're not opposed to growth. We would just really like it to improve the area that is going to improve the values of the properties there, not bring them down. And I don't see how that is positive growth when it's not building up an area and when it is tearing it down. Talk about comparable homes. My home, the home that I reside in, is 3,500 square feet. I'm probably one of the smallest homes. My neighbor is the one that was mentioned, 14,000 square feet. And a 1,600 square foot home is nowhere near comparable to those types of sizes. And I just do not understand how in the world we can put 4 of those homes in my backyard and say it's okay. It's not. It's not. And I beg you to just consider this being put into your backyard. And like I said, we're not opposed to growth. This is a beautiful area and has been a beautiful area for very, very long. I have lived in Lake County since 1982. I grew up, I'm a Tiberias High School alumni, and I've been in this area all my life, and I've seen that area be so special for all of those who have lived here for so long, and it just tears my heart apart to see that this area is just going to be destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, again, Kathy Hadaway for the record. I just wanted to make certain that it was the Commission's preference that I address each of the applications separately. We do have a complete presentation tonight.
Why don't you go ahead with the complete presentation?
Okay.
Because I know some of what you're going to present have already been taken care of, some of the issues that have been brought up. So if you would.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll move now to the issue of the comprehensive plan amendment that is scheduled to be voted tonight. So on the left side of the screen is the current Lake County future land use for this property. As you can see, that the same color on the map on the left side is both above to the north, east, and to the south of the subject property, and that is in the middle of the picture on the left side. So the current future land use in Lake County is urban low density, which equates to or allows up to 4 units per acre. What we have applied for in the city of Leesburg is the Leesburg Estate future land use, which allows exactly the same density, 4 units per acre. So we are not proposing anything in our comprehensive plan amendment that is not allowed on the property today. So that would be considered compatible and consistent with the surrounding properties in terms of the allowable density. Also, the comprehensive plan amendment that we are proposing is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. Again, it allows the same future land use density as is on the property today. But also, your comprehensive plan has a couple of important policies that I wanted to bring out. The first is in the future land use element policy 1.8.1 that states, when reviewing land use amendments, the city shall consider the existing and proposed land uses in any jurisdiction that are adjacent to the proposed amendment. And we've discussed that point. Future land use objective 1.2 states that the city will encourage various housing types. I wanted to talk briefly about compatibility. And compatibility is really in the eye of the beholder. Your idea of compatibility probably differs from mine, which differs from other people's in this room. So what do you as an elective board in the state of Florida have to fall back on to make that determination? You have a definition that is provided in Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes, which is the chapter that governs land use and development in the state of Florida. And that definition states that compatibility means a condition in which land uses or conditions can coexist in relative proximity to each other in a stable fashion over time, such that no use or condition is unduly negatively impacted directly or indirectly by another use or condition. So in this case, there is no direct or indirect unduly negative impact to any of the surrounding uses or development. There is no direct access from this property, this project, to any other neighborhood, and it is a stable use. It is single-family residential adjacent to single-family residential. Now moving to the zoning issues. The two columns indicate on the left a plat that was approved on the the western portion of the subject property in Lake County. In Lake County, the zoning on that western portion of the property closest to County Road 44 is R3, or Residential 3. That plat, previously approved, allowed for 125 lots at 3 units per acre density, and they were all 65-foot lots. What we are proposing in a Leesburg PUD zoning on that same portion of the property is also 125 lots, the same 3.0 density units per acre, and we are proposing 80-foot lots on the southern boundary, the brown lots, and 50-foot lot width in other areas of the development. The advantages of the Leesburg approval, again, is that the Lake County zoning is what's known as straight zoning. It's R3 zoning. It has limited requirements. The open space requirement is for 25%. It has no recreation requirement for the community. It requires no buffers between single-family residential neighborhoods. There are no architectural requirements for residential development in Lake County, and there's no requirement to have an HOA. In Leesburg, it's almost 180 degrees difference. The PUD zoning provides enhanced benefits. It requires a minimum of 30% open space. It requires an active recreation element to the project, and we are proposing in our active recreation area, a pool and cabana area, as well as the other parks that we'll talk about in just a second. The city requires a landscaped buffer requirement, requires a landscape buffer. The city has architectural standards that speak to the issue that's been raised with regard to what these homes will look like. They will have to meet the city of Leesburg's architectural standards in terms of their appearance. And the city requires a homeowners association. This is our complete proposed PUD zoning plan, which is a total of 265 units. I will point out a couple of important differences in the plan from what was heard at the Planning Commission. The first one is that on the southern boundary south of the brown lots, or the 80-foot wide lots, that the city requires in their PUDs a 25-foot buffer to surround the perimeter of the project. In that area south of the brown 80-foot lots, we have been able to tweak the plan such that we are now proposing a 35-foot buffer in that area, and that's a minimum of 35 feet. That's at the narrowest point. At the widest point, as it moves to the east, that buffer will go up to 80 or 100 feet. And I'm going to talk more about the buffer requirement a little bit later because I have an illustration to show you. The other point that was made at the Planning Commission, but I want to bring it out clearly tonight, and that is the only access to this project will be on County Road 44. There will be no access onto Midsummer Lane. In fact, you'll notice on the right side or the east side of the project where Midsummer Lane terminates at the southern boundary of the subject property, you're now seeing a buffer there. So there will be open space at that southern area. We have, as I mentioned, 3 parks throughout the community. The largest is on the left side. That will have a substantial pool and cabana for the residents, as well as we have 2 other parks spread throughout the community. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the buffer that's required by the city. And this southern boundary landscape buffer, as I indicated, will be 35 feet in width. It will include canopy trees, ornamental trees, continuous line of shrubs along the southern boundary of the buffer. It will be planted with grass, and we are also have added to that a split rail fence that would be on the southernmost portion of the buffer. Next is just a different perspective of that same buffer to give you a sense of the distance between the property boundary of the lots to the south and what will take place in this development. Starting from the left, you have the depiction of the rear of the home. There it will be an 18-foot rear setback on the lots. That was something that your staff insisted on. 18-foot setback before you get to the buffer. Then you start with the canopy tree or the ornamental trees, then the canopy trees, then the shrubs, then the fence. And the intent of the way that the canopy tree and the ornamental trees are placed and creates that nice buffer. And then last is an illustration of the split rail fence that will be placed on the buffer. Now, the split rail fence and this buffer section will be all along the southern boundary. So it'll be wherever it's adjacent to a neighborhood. So it will be south along the Silver Lake homes on the southern part of the project. And then it will also be in that area that abuts Midsummer Lane. The fence and buffer will be there as well. In all other areas of the project, we will have a 25-foot perimeter buffer that will also be landscaped as the city requires. But the fencing will be added to the buffer on the southern boundary. There's one condition revision request I wanted to bring to your attention with the hopes that you could support our request on this. We've been working with your staff. We've had several good meetings working through the conditions. We've agreed to all of the conditions that your staff has proposed for the PUD. with the exception of number 6D, which is a 6-foot high privacy fence, or particularly a PVC fence or other composite material behind each lot in the development. And we thought, and we feel strongly that the buffer that we're providing with the split rail fence is a more aesthetically pleasing option than just having a wall of 6-foot white PVC fence along the back of the lots. That does not preclude a homeowner from putting in their own fence, should they choose. And as you know, many people do these days want to have some type of fence in their backyard for children or animals. So our requested substitute for that 6-foot fence behind each lot in the development is the split rail fence shall be included in the buffer areas on the southern boundary of the property, immediately adjacent to the existing single-family lots and immediately adjacent to the northernmost lots on Midsummer Lane. I'm almost finished. I would like to introduce our traffic engineer. I don't think we were clear enough at the Planning Commission meeting that we have prepared a traffic study. It was required by the city to be submitted when the PUD was submitted. It has been reviewed by the city and the MPO and the city's and the Regional Planning Council transportation expert. So I'll let Mr. Saidi touch on some of the high points of that traffic study.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Sorry. My name is Ayman Saidi. I'm with Traffic and Mobility Consultants, 3101 McGuire Boulevard, Suite 265, Orlando 32803. Just for the record, I am a registered professional engineer in the state of Florida. I have over 25 years experience doing just traffic analysis and traffic engineering work. So we have, as Kathy stated, we did complete a traffic study that was submitted to the city and the MPO. It was reviewed and we responded to their comments. The traffic impact analysis follows, that the city requires. It requires us to follow the Lake Sumter MPO traffic impact analysis guidelines. So in those guidelines, it specifies based on the type of projects, the trips generated. The guidelines will then tell us which roads and which intersections to analyze. Speaking of that, so what I'm going to present today is the outcome of that study that covers the County Road 44 and County Road 473, which was the roads required to analyze under the impact of this project. So, and the results show, as presented here on on County Road 44, there is an adopted level of service D, which is basically what the county requires that the traffic to be maintained. And what that means is, and in the peak hour, peak direction, that capacity of the road is 1,160 vehicles per hour. The total projected traffic on the road, including traffic generated by this new development, is 981, which means there is still available capacity on the road of 179. So the road is still projected at level service D. This is at the build-out of this project. As far as the intersections go, we did analyze the County Road 44 and Silver Lake Road intersection, which is also expected to operate at acceptable level of service, again based on the guidelines, which is the analysis is based on delays per vehicle, and based on the delays and the thresholds, that's what the results show. As far as the entrance of the project, it was also analyzed, and it does require exclusive right turn and left turn lanes at the project entrance. We did also look at the numbers generated by the project to see if the numbers would warrant a traffic signal, but it doesn't. Same thing for the signal for the intersection of 44 and Silver Lake as well. We looked at the traffic from the AM and PM peak hour periods, and those numbers also are not high enough to warrant a traffic signal. The last point for the intersection of County Road 44 and US 441, there will be some requirements for adjusting the existing timing plan, signal timing plan, for that intersection to work at an acceptable level of service. So that wraps up the results of the traffic analysis. Thank you.
Again, Kathy Hadaway for the record. So just in closing, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, this property is poised for annexation into the city of Leesburg. It is in an area that is designated for future development. It has a future land use on it today that allows up to 4 units per acre. It's an urban density. As you also know, the city has invested significantly in utilities, bringing a sewer line along County Road 44 to serve property along that corridor, including this property. And with specifically to the project that we have brought before you tonight, just to recap, we will be providing the 80-foot wide lots on the southern border with 50-foot wide lots on the remainder of the project, the minimum 35-foot buffer with split rail fence, a pool and cabana amenity. We are providing over 27 acres of open space within the community, which exceeds the 30% required by the city. This project will have a homeowners association. I want to just touch on that a little further. The builder in this project will be a regional or national home builder that is very experienced in setting up homeowners associations in new communities. It will be funded appropriately. It will have the appropriate documentations and bylaws to ensure that this remains a quality development over time. And again, the only access to this neighborhood will be on County Road 44. So I thank you for your time and attention to our presentation, and I will stay close if there are any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you clarify for me, just from our meeting, what is the minimum square footage on the house?
The requirement, I believe, in the city is 1,600. And again, the 1,600 square feet, that would be that's the minimum requirement. That doesn't mean that's the smallest. Of course, nothing could be built that's smaller than that, but the starting single-family one-story home could be larger than that. And of course, very popular these days are two-story homes, which would be double the square footage. So the 1,600 square feet is the minimum requirement. Just to contrast, in Lake County, the minimum square footage requirement is 1,500 square feet. So the city requires a little bit larger, again, than the county does.
Okay, but I'm referring back to when we spoke with, I can't remember the gentleman's name.
Mr. Galvin?
Right.
Yes.
When I asked what the square footage was, the minimum, I thought he told me the range. He's here. Okay. I'd like to know what the range of those are going to be, because it's obviously your project.
First of all, my name's Mike Galvin. I reside at 134 Brightwaters Boulevard, St. Pete. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Yes, you're right. I guess the minimum is 16. I mentioned we will have a minimum of home size of 1,800, but they will go to 3,500 square feet. So, and I'm fine changing that.
And I appreciate it. I just remember I thought that's what you said, and then when the 1,600 came up, I was just kind of curious how we had gotten there. And then one of the things too, we didn't talk about it tonight. One of my big concerns was obviously the potential for Section 8 and rentals. We were going to put that in the PUD if it went forward.
Yes, Commissioner, there will be no Section 8 housing in this, and we can put that in the PUD conditions.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Could you go up to the microphone, please?
Jim Spiker again, just for the record. So what I'm seeing is there's a lot of could be's, might be's, but what I'm going off of is if the minimums are 1,600, then you can say we might put a 6,000 square foot house 3 stories high on this property. That doesn't change the fact that you're going to have to find somebody to buy that house in that neighborhood. As residents, we kind of have to go off the fact that if the minimum is 1,600, we will have to assume that most of those houses are going to be around that 1,600 square foot. That's quite a varied 1,600 to 3,500 square foot right next door to each other in a neighborhood. I don't know that I've really seen that very much. Is that?
Well, that's on Silver Lake.
What's that?
When you go down Silver Lake, just go around the road. You got a little house that was built 100 years ago that's probably 2,000 square feet, and you got one that's 14,000.
Right.
So I listen, and I appreciate, all the threats and the insults tonight, how you're going to ruin everything, but for me...
I don't think anybody's been insulting.
No, it's recorded. But listen, for me, it's about a discussion and trying to understand.
Okay, excuse me.
Just like
Everybody
right
was
now. I never
polite
interrupted
and listening,
anybody,
so let's do that, okay?
You don't interrupt me. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to determine right now is what's best, taking all the information. I moved here from Texas. I didn't even know they made neighborhoods that didn't have alleyways. I'd never seen a garage in the front of the house or on the side of the house. They were in the back. The trash man came on the back. I'd never experienced that till I moved to Florida. I'd never seen a double wide next to a 4,500 square foot stuccoed house. I'm used to neighborhoods like what you live in, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I know for a fact that that was one of your dream houses and totally understand where we're going. So what I'm trying to do is just look at and to see how we accomplish it. Obviously, I think the biggest thing for me here right now, and just to be honest with the crowd, Lake County's already approved this. If we say we're not going to annex it in, Lake County's already approved it. Whether you know it or not, before you built, when you built, it's already been approved by Lake County. They can tell the city, you know what, we're going to go with the county. We don't want your services. Thank you very much. And they can build it without the setbacks, without the landscaping. That's your commissioners that you guys said that you vote for, that proved that way before it come to us. So all I'm trying to do is just ask questions, and at this meeting, especially with the first reading, or when we can ask questions, what's the minimum? Is it going to be 2,000 square feet? Is it going to be 3? We can ask for those kind of, things to be put in place right now, opposed to just approving it and then guessing. My biggest concern, and I want to be honest, and I'll, just like I spoke with them, we've had developers who've come in. I can't tell you in the last 8 years how many developers have come into this community and said, we want to do this, and can you change the zoning, and can you do this, whether it's the Lee School, or whether it's Silver Lake, or whether whoever, and then 8 years down the road, we're still looking at nothing because somebody come in, got it ready as far as for development, and then nobody ever developed it, and it turns out bad. I hate the fact that we annexed Silver Lake. I think it's horrible, and I'll tell you why. Because when Silver Lake went bankrupt and closed up, it would have looked just like it looks today, except everybody be mad at Lake County and not us. I wish they were. I wish everybody in here was mad at Lake County commissioners instead of the city of Leesburg commissioners, because those guys won't mow their grass. I get blasted with it. We send out all kinds of letters. We take our code enforcement goes out there. The police department goes out there. Our attorney, Fred Morrison, sends letters. And we have to deal with something in your neighborhood that wasn't anything our fault, but it is now. And so we get the bad press. But you'd have been stuck with that ugly eyesore because Silver Lake went under. So all I'm trying to say is I'm trying to get the information so that we can hopefully make, if it's going to be developed. And I appreciate several people here today, made a great statement. Development's coming. I mean, look at, they say that there's like, I think it's 1,800 people a day now move into here, only second to the state of Texas, where it's like 2,000 people a day move there. Obviously, Lake County has a lot to appeal to people, and in Leesburg, we're trying to make it there and be a part of that. But growth is coming, whether we like it or not. And the struggle, if hopefully some of you will try to understand, when we wanted to do Venetian Gardens, Man, Palmer Park fought us tooth and nail. You're running our view of the shrubbery, and you're running this, and they hated it. You know, when we wanted to put the dog park in, people got mad about that. When they started developing Radio Road, everybody was mad because you're going to develop Radio Road, and there's going to be neighborhoods out there. And so the challenge for especially for me, I mean, just tell you where I'm at, is no matter where, we've never said we're going to build anything anywhere that it didn't make somebody mad. And tonight, you know, is a first reading, but when we vote on this, half the room's going to be mad and half the room's going to be happy, no matter which way we vote. So what I'm trying to do is just say, you know, I'm looking for, don't tell me that you're not going to vote for me. Don't tell me I'm going to be remembered as some jerk that went and ruined Leesburg. Help us accomplish a way to make this development where it works. That's what I'm looking for. Help me with the developers get, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
No, I appreciate what you're saying, and I hope when I came up here you didn't think that was an attack on you guys. That was just to clarify that we're giving a range and that there is the possibility that could only be a neighborhood full of 1,600 square foot houses because those would all meet the minimum requirements. As far as the lake goes, I've never been mad at the city of Leesburg for that. I don't know who is. I'm mad in general that it happened, but I don't think you can really pin that on any particular people. All we're looking for is from our, you know, there are people who are passionate about it. I don't necessarily believe that everybody means to be insulting when they come up. They're scared, they're worried about their values, they're worried about their way of life, and we only get 3 minutes to come up here at something that we're not practiced at to try to make our case. They got 20 straight minutes to make their case, but when I come up and talk, I got 3 minutes to try and pick a point and get all my words together just right on the point and try not to repeat something that somebody else said. So, you know, I think a lot of people here are trying to work in a coordination with you. They're just trying to get across their passion for it. You know, it's worrisome to us. I don't have a lot to, I'm working on trying to leave something for my kids, and you know, I don't want to take $100,000 off the table because if I could show you, if I had some way to put it up there and show you the picture of what it looks like from the back of my house, there's no split fence or ornamental tree that's going to save the fact that you're going to be looking out of the back of my full custom home at a row of the back of a bunch of other people's houses.
And I get that.
Because of the way it says. That's what frightens me. And our effects don't start 8 years later or 6 years later or whenever it is that they decide to start this. Can't lie to people about it. If somebody's buying my house, I got to tell them it's going in back there. And that's definitely going to have an effect on the value. So that scares us.
No, and I appreciate that. I really do. And like I said, for me, it's just about how, because we have a need. You know, Leesburg, we got a mall that's struggling. We can't get enough traffic there. We've had 3 different owners, probably in the last 7 years, I would say, something like that. We just had to give them another big chunk of money, your taxpayer money, because we're trying to save that mall, because the last thing you want around the corner from your house is a big boarded up 200,000 square foot empty building. And so, you know, the other thing, when we look at it as from the city perspective, you know, when I campaigned 8 years ago, I had 3 things on there. One was public safety, one was economic development, and one was Venetian Gardens. And when we started trying to reach out and do economic development and bring businesses in here, somebody referred to doctors. You know, there's no doctors going to want to live here because there's no big houses. Well, the other side of that coin is you can't bring in major corporations if there's no housing for their workforce. I mean, yeah, the hospital may hire 30 or 40 doctors, you know. I mean, they already had 30 or 40 doctors. The hospital didn't get no bigger because they changed who owns it. So it's still the same amount of doctors. But when you start looking at the workforce and what we have to bring in economic development, we're in trouble. And that's one of the things that hurts them. I tried to get a Chick-fil-A. I was shocked out of my boots. I tried to get a Chick-fil-A in Leesburg. Can't get one. You know why? Because of our medium household income. And anywhere you put a dot on a major road in Leesburg, they do a 3.5-mile radius around that. And if the medium household income is not over, theirs is, I think, 38-something for a household income, they won't come put one in. Well, guess what? No matter where you go in Leesburg, you do a 3.5-mile radius around where you could build a Chick-fil-A, and there's a huge Section 8 housing complex there, which just plummets our medium household income. So, you know, what we're trying to do is, for me, I won't speak for they, but for me, I'm trying to figure out how do we strategically and intelligently find house for our workforces and for, you know, being able to keep us moving forward, for more people to come. I mean, I don't want to be Claremont, you know. I just went there this weekend to play golf, and it's just rooftops everywhere. But there's that need. That's where we're at. So I just hope you understand, I'm trying to do my best to ask questions. How can we? Because development's coming whether I want it or not.
And I totally agree with you.
How do we develop it to where it fits? I'm sure, being honest, if we went back when they built your neighborhood, you probably ticked off somebody in Silver Lake because they built yours behind it. So it's just that way. I'm just saying, being honest, that's just how it is, and you know.
No, I get that. I guess the thing that's frustrating is we, at the planning and zoning meeting, we all stood up there, and every single person that stood up there said the same thing. None of us are against them developing that property. Nobody. Not a single one of us went up there and said, nope, I want to look at birds and grass, and I don't want anything else back there. What we asked for was for them to try and do something that transitioned a little better from that area inward, that we could do some larger lots on the outside area. They increased it a little bit, but other than that, the planning and zoning asked for 15,000 square foot lots, and we're told that it wasn't feasible. Well, that might not be a feasible plan for this particular developer in this particular subdivision, but it's definitely a feasible plan. There's definitely a way to develop that land that you could transition it to smaller housing in the back, still have your housing, and work your way away from Silver Lake so that, again, we're going to be helping to bring up their values. But in order for that to happen, the only way it's going to happen is if that's there to bring ours down. I haven't spoken to any real estate agents that have said this is going to be great for you. It's really going to send your values through the roof, you know. So.
But also, I hope you do realize that nobody's going to build the neighborhood in the 800,000 range.
No, that's not what
your
we're.
neighborhood
That's
is.
not. But going from the 800,000 range over a fence to the 200,000 range is a big jump. 800,000 range to the 400,000 range to the 200,000 range.
No, I understand.
That's a nice smooth transition.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you one question.
Sure.
All right, this is the only question, and you can speak for the group.
I don't know if they want me doing
well,
that.
Well, they clap with you, so they always agree with you.
No, yeah, no pressure.
But knowing, my question would be this. You saw the comparison with Leesburg's requirements, whether that's setbacks. You know, one of our big contentions was taking that second entrance out that was going to come. They have to enlarge the first entrance and put it on 44. So you have two comparisons, one with Lake County, which has already been approved, and Leesburg that's been on discussion now to be approved, which has, you know, the bigger lots and blah, 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 and more square footage. We could make it a minimum of 1,800, 19, whatever. My question to you would be, which one of those would you rather have? Well, if it comes down to it, would you rather have Leesburg's, the next standard, or would you rather have Lake County's?
And I don't want to cut Jim off, but I'd like to seek clarification for my benefit and for Jim and the crowd here. I guess our new devices on the wall, I can't hear myself. I want to understand from staff, it's my understanding they have to annex into the city for the water and sewer. So I need to understand that clearly, and I think that people in this room need to understand, you know, the issue of annexation. I mean, can this property be developed in the county at this kind of density without annexation? I just want to be sure that I, myself, and the people in the room are not being misled on that.
The answer is probably not. But here's the differences. We're going to talk water, sewer, electric, your primary utilities. It is in the city's electric service territory by the Public Service Commission. So whether that was built in or not in the city, there would be city electric customers. And we do not have an electric policy that dictates whether you're inside or outside. We do have a policy for water and sewer. And that policy is you either have to annex or you have to agree to annex upon the time that you start development. The county has a policy that says any subdivision that's within 1,000 feet of a municipal system has to have sewer. So our policy, water and sewer from the Public Works Department is if you want to be annexed, you have to, if you want water and sewer, you have to be annexed. The county doesn't have that policy, but they're going to require that you have water and sewer. So then the question becomes, based on where you're at in our MSA, where would you get that water and sewer? Probably Leesburg. There are probably a couple of spots out there where you could develop and not be on a city system, but they're few and far between. I think some of them are up off Radio Road area, but I'm not real sure. So
Okay,
can it be developed? Yes.
Go ahead, Al, I'm sorry.
So can it be developed outside without the city? Yes. I think then the questions become, does it become economical based on where you would get your water and sewer?
Okay, I was trying to help Jim out in his answer here.
Well, just for my clarification, so the water and sewer that is going to be run in front of that city water and sewer. So if they're not approved by the city, are they able to still tie into that same water and sewer line?
That would require the question to come before this commission on whether they would exempt them or not. So there's a good non-answer for you.
Yeah, I was serious. I don't know where
The policy says if that develops and they want water and sewer, they need to annex. So being that there is a pioneering agreement in place where there's a big water and a big sewer main in front of that property on 44, our policy is you have to annex if you want to be tapped into that line.
Okay,
And
so
being that
if
that
they were
line
not
is
annexed.
built, I would see that this commission probably would not waive that requirement. Meaning if they develop, they need to tap into city water and sewer.
So
and
they need to be
annex.
annexed.
Al, does water and sewer have to be together, just from understanding your perspective? So, I mean, could they have sewer without having water? According to what you're talking about, Lake County?
You could potentially have sewer without water. You could potentially have sewer without water. However, that is a case that is going to be so extreme that you probably wouldn't see it. And this is why. Because the private entity would have to get a consumptive use permit, have their own well, have their own treatment system, and develop their own distribution system within that little subdivision. Now, there's some of them out there. We've kind of collected them in and done that, but that area specifically is within the city's consumptive use permit. So our 9 million gallons a day is counted potential development in that area, and that justifies why we take what we do from the aquifer. So your answer on that one is possible, highly unlikely, especially not very likely in that area, because if, let's say this, for lack of better words, ROHOA would go to St. John's to get a consumptive use permit, they would probably be denied because they said we would have the service territory rights. And St. John's would come to us and say, do you want this little HOA to take away from your COP? And we would say no. The flip side of that equation is no. Typically in an urbanized development, you're not going to have water without sewer. So if you've got sewer, if you've got houses close together, state law says you need to be sewer.
Okay.
So if they were annexing, if they were looking to be annexed in to tie into that sewer and water, would that give the city any leeway as far as requesting changes to the development to make it fit the area better?
I think you're asking there, is there a way you could get, like, have septic tanks? Yes. That would have to, again, come back to this board. You would have to change your policy. We've toyed with it on different developments, especially out there at Silver Lake, in consideration of trying to get the golf course developed to larger 3 to 5 acre lots. So that would be the threshold of what would get us away from sewer. And then that would have to come back to this board for a special exception.
Well, I think the commission, and I think Jim understands why I asked, because if they could develop it in the county and it was a lesser product, I think that's material to the commission, myself, and to the people in this room. That's why I brought it up. I wasn't trying to confuse everybody, even though I think I confused myself. But
no, actually, that was. I mean, I think that's actually kind of a helpful point to bring up. So.
But no, thank you, Al, for that clarification.
I think he's a little over 3 minutes. As a matter of fact, he more than made up the 20 minutes, so I don't want to hear that again.
Well, yeah, I've been listening an awful lot of that time, not speaking very much.
Well, that's still your time, right?
Yeah.
Nobody has told him to sit down, so don't get excited.
No, I appreciate the fact that we're having the discussion, that we're going back and forth on it, and I appreciate you guys listening. I think we've got some people that can pick up the workload here.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks, guys.
We have two sides here tonight, right? Yours and theirs. And they have one person here, and you've got 3 minutes times 40, so you're evening out.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just, it's tough as one person to come up and,
we appreciate
you got a million things to say. It's just, it makes you nervous when you get up here and you're like, okay, what were the 1,000 things I wanted to say in 3 minutes? So.
You got to write them down.
Yes, Commissioner, I want to address one point. As this board knows, I was the owner-developer for Radio Road, and after we had the sewer line extension, we specifically looked into the due diligence on the Ostrander parcel. That property was purchased by MI Homes back in 2007. It was fully engineered, platted, plat was recorded, and bonds were issued for development of 125 single-family lots at 3 units per acre. Part of the sewer agreement there was Lake County had a joint use agreement with the city of Leesburg for services, water, sewer, and that service, there was a covenant, part of our title in our due diligence, that stated that at the request of city of Leesburg, that we were mandated to annex in return for allowing for hookup for sewer services. I met with the Dan Miller and Adrian staff with that plat being recorded early on in due diligence. They gave us an option that clearly stated we could develop in Lake County, and there was a joint use agreement with that covenant in place. Just wanted to put that on the record.
So that would mean he would have...
No, that answers the question. And I gave you a little bit of a circuitous answer. The policy is, if you want to develop and you want water and sewer services, you have to annex. That's the policy. So the answer that he got from Public Works and Planning and Zoning is, you have to annex. If that system is going to get fucked, then there's always reasons that they would come before this body for you to reconsider that policy.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
And yeah, just for the record, there is an existing development, while I was on the commission, same kind of discussions, it was in Sunnyside, it's Park Hill, that the whole issue came up with annexing the city. They didn't annex, but they still built homes right beside Sleepy Hollow. Look on the property tax, we got all the development, we got the homes, but the city gets no taxes, it's right beside Sleepy Hollow. So that's Park Hill subdivision. I think Mike Parker, I think you live there, but he pays no city taxes, but he's right there beside Sleepy Hollow. So again, that's where I think the covenant comes in of, does he have to annex to the city? If they can build on a 65-foot lot in the county, then you still run the risk of you having the same development with no homeowner association. You have no setbacks except no architectural design and 125 homes in the county. So I think that's where the PUD comes in, because the city has some say-so on the homeowner association, the buffering, and that's where I think the PUD works better than straight zoning to the county. So while we're, saying all that, I think the ultimate thing is that developer goes and says, I'm going to develop 125 homes on 65 lots that's already been approved. I think that's what we're going to end up with in the city. And I don't know if he fights us with the covenant that we have to give him water and sewer because he has a covenant from 2007 that's in his deed. Does that become a legal issue? Or does he develop in the county and we still provide water and sewer? So I think in the first reading, we hear the concerns, but I think there's some other issues. Instead of trying to debate them tonight, I think Fred can maybe answer Al, get back with us for the next reading to see some definitive answers, and the developer can come back with the residents. Because I think I would prefer a PUD as opposed to a straight zone of 65-foot lots without having any of these setbacks or buffering. And I prefer the city of Leesburg has some type of say-so on how this property is being developed, if it's going to be developed.
I would advise this, because Commissioner, you asked me this question earlier in the day, so I'll be more clear. I would advise this body that going down that road of will this property be developed, if it is or isn't in the city, is a moot point to how you should consider what is right for the community, what is conducive to the comprehensive plan, and what's in the financial interest of our utility system. Development, is it going to come in? Is it not going to come in? The answer to the development question is the market's going to drive the development. For us, it behooves us to be in the city limits for the general service side. If there's going to be a development, it behooves us for it to be in the city limits when it's right next to us for multiple reasons. One, utilities, and B, public safety. Right now, the city of Leesburg probably runs 75% of the fire EMS calls in this region. We receive 0 from those residents for that service.
We need to fix that.
And on the interim, those residents are paying upwards of, what's the county fire and EMS fee, about $185. So they're paying about $185 to the county to get a service that they're getting from us. So, I mean, there's some crazy overlaps there, and there's some different things going on. On the development question, I think it's a moot point. Development's going to happen because the market's going to drive it, and if it happens on our border, yes, you want it in the city limits.
Okay, no, thank you, Al. You've helped me, and I'm the newest commissioner up here, only in my second year, so I'm learning a lot. I asked that question because, of how I vote on this, number one, and also because I'm sensitive to the residents in here. I think that's an important question to understand. I mean, everybody here says they support growth, so, the question is, how is this property going to be developed? And what I was trying to get to the bottom of is, legally, is this, is this PUD better for the residents than it being developed in the county? And that's where I was trying to go with all this, and be sure everybody in the room and myself understood that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Russ Casson. I live at 9820 Jackson Road, Leesburg, 34788. I apologize for not attending the planning and zoning meetings because I still work for a living. And I think some of the things I'm probably going to comment on probably should have been addressed at that time. If there's a possibility to bring the PUD map back up, I'd like to show something, as far as the development compared to the area. If you'll notice, around Silver Lake, the size of the lots that are the residential houses, and even off of Silver Lake Drive, compare that to the unit development that they've been talking about right now. It's not consistent with the existing neighborhood. It's a lot higher density, which I believe is what the people were talking about. So what I would like to say, I would ask the developer and his consultant, would they actually develop this property if they could not get this kind of density? Now, I understand they said this density was approved at the county level. If, in fact, we were having hearings about developing this property at the county, I would be attending those meetings and asking them to reconsider that density that they have. The other issue that I have was I heard the traffic engineer speaking, but all I heard him say was a traffic study that applied to County Road 44 and obviously the streets inside the development. But as you heard other folks here talk about, we're talking about traffic around Silver Lake. We're talking about traffic on 441. We're talking about traffic, on a lot more streets than on County Road 44. So I don't think the traffic study addressed that part of the issue. My recommendation to the council is and I realize I'm not a resident of the city of Leesburg, but I would recommend that council remand this back to the Planning and Zoning Commission with the questions and the issues that have been brought up here tonight. Thank you.
John Fisher, 9237 Silver Lake Drive. I'm one of those houses on the lake. If I could, I want to explode a little bit what the gentleman before me said. Can I go up to the map and do some pointing? I think it'll be a little more clear. So one of my concerns, as you just said, is the interpretation of compatibility. And as the gentleman said, we live here. This is me. You know, here's our houses, here's our lot. This is not compatible. This is not compatible. I like the idea of a PUD. I like the idea of some more structure. I would love to have water and sewer. I'm on a well that, you know, and I need a filtering system, you know, and I'm on septic, and I wish I had, you know, the sewer. So I'm excited for these folks to have that. And if I interpret it correctly, we've already approved the sewer to go along that line. So to tap into this development, means comes to someone almost paid for. I mean, the developer up above and City of Leesburg is pulling that through. My proposal, which I think is somewhat our proposal, I'm not against development and it's coming, right? So, and I support it. It's entrepreneur type, I like land and like development. But when you look at here, right, these are half-acre lots. These are not compatible half-acre lots. Just make them half-acre lots, and we're compatible. I'm going to put an appropriate sized house on the size of that lot. I'm not going to put a Cracker Barrel 1,600 square foot, and I'm not going to put a 14,000 square foot mansion that we have. We're going to put an appropriate house based on the size of the lot. So you know, make those for sure, you know, half acre. Over here, you know, for these folks that own these properties, I'm one of them. Dan's one of them. Mr. Mead's one of them. You know, make this section here, make them 1 acre or more, 1 acre. Now you're going to build a bigger house because you spent more for the lot. You're going to build a bigger house. And then as Jim said, right, then go ahead and transition. Do an acre. Do a half an acre. And then you have all of these to help offset the development and sewer costs. So I think that's part of a win-win is not all or nothing, but replan this. We already have the water, sewer, you know, going through there, so that's the hard part. We can tap into there and I think have success. I like the idea of the greenery, the swimming pool, you know, enhancement. Here, the buffer, me being one of them, I would like us, minimally, that live here, to have some input, whether it's a berm and a fence, which has, I think, a little more privacy and get elevated a little bit. I personally would prefer that versus, you know, the fence, which is see-through and not that protected. This is nice, right? The greenery is nice, but I thought, just let these people, you know, have some input of what they would like in their backyard. So, that's what I got.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name's Ashton Kreidel. I live at 10036 Bunker Road, right off Morningside. So I was going to say that we've bought our very first home, my husband and I, we bought our very first home in Silver Lake because of the charm and the soul of the lake. Being a lifetime Leesburg resident, you know, I knew Silver Lake was one of the best areas growing up. We have put almost $200,000 into our home in the last 2.5 years to modernize it and make it, you know, our dream home that we're going to stay in for a very long time and raise our children in. And it is truly terrifying to think that this commission has the power to destroy our property values and all the time, money, blood, sweat, and tears that we have put into our home over the last 2.5 years. If this type of development goes in, no one will want to move to Silver Lake. And, you know, doing basic economic principles, you know, there's going to be a supply-demand issue. There's going to be a huge supply of houses going up for sale and no one wanting to move there. So what happens with that is prices go down. I also want to say, on the flip side of that, being a devil's advocate here, that I understand, you know, what's going on here because my father is a developer and a builder as well, and I have extensive construction knowledge. And so I understand, you know, how these things happen. I understand that development is just part of the process. But at the same time, you know, my father builds quality construction with four-sided architecture because he wants to be proud of what he sells and what people live in. He wants to build a quality product that is architecturally pleasing. I encourage all of you to take a look around at the similar neighborhoods as what's proposed that have been built in the last 10 to 15 years in our area. Go around and take a look at some of those houses in those neighborhoods and see what condition they're in. I'm a local real estate broker and owner. I own a company right over in Fruitland Park. And my agents and I are in these types of houses every single day. We see the inspection reports, and I can tell you that they are not in good condition. So, and those are just the types of homes that are exactly what's proposed tonight. We have a ton of out-of-town buyers calling us right now because, like has been pointed out, Lake County is a very desirable place to move to. We have a ton of buyers coming up from South Florida where properties are just too expensive and people want a little bit less expensive home. We need more workforce for like the surrounding developments. But at the same time, you know, I would really encourage everyone to take a look at the proposed development and, like the previous gentleman said, increase the lot size and build a nicer, bigger house. So, thank you.
Good evening. Anna Martinez, 8735 Spring Court, Leesburg, 34788. I guess you can tell by my accent, which I didn't know I had one. I am from Miami. My husband and I moved. I didn't know I had one until I moved up here. My husband and I, we moved up here 14 years ago because we wanted a better life for our boys. Unfortunately, we are reliving what happened in Miami. These are builders like Adrian Homes and Lennar Homes that are just out to build as many homes on properties because it's about the quantity, not the quality. With that said, these type of homes are geared more to USDA loans, which qualify with 0% down. What happened in Miami in the 2006 market crash? People were buying homes with 0% down. They didn't want to pay for it. They just let it go. They didn't put any money down. They had nothing to lose. And that crippled Miami in 2006. Literally, we moved July 2006. 2 weeks later, our neighbors were calling that the market crashed in Miami. Literally, God pulled us out at the perfect time because it's all in His will. So we lived in a beautiful neighborhood called Country Walk in Miami, which was literally a little area outside of the city. We always had large gathering, family and friends in our home, and everyone always said, I feel like I'm not in Miami, in the area that we lived in. Unfortunately, this happened right next to us twice. What would take me minutes to exit my community would take me 30 minutes to exit 2 miles. 2 miles from my driveway to the exit. That meant me as a mother with young children that I had to work, I had to get up I had to get up an hour earlier, leave my home by 5:30 in the morning so that I can fight the traffic in Miami, which this is what it's going to lead us to. And I'm sorry, I'm being passionate because we left Miami, we left our home, our family, and our friends because we wanted a better life for our boys. And this is where God put us in. And I feel it's my duty to try and fight for something that I feel is precious, because the wildlife, our family, they love to come up here. We don't go down to Miami, they come up here. They love Mount Dora, they love the Leesburg area. They love the wildlife. The first time I ever saw a bald eagle was here. And the wildlife that we have here, it's just gonna ruin it. And like everyone has said, we know we need growth. Make them acre lot homes. It's going to pull people like the doctors that you guys are saying that they need homes, or like half acre lots. When you put this, it brings different quality of life to the area. I know, I lived it. My husband and I lived it. We've lived the American dream. We are Cuban immigrants. Our families have worked really hard. And we are thankful that we have been welcomed by Lake County. At least most people, at least in Lake County, love us. Not everybody does, but that's okay. Not everyone needs to. So please just consider making changes. No one is really saying not to have growth, because growth is good. We want growth in our community. But make it where it won't impact not just the wildlife, but our livelihoods. Because my husband and I'm a teacher, my husband's a painting contractor. We work hard. Our son is a firefighter. Our younger son is in college. So we are a working class family that we just want what's best for our family, and we want to leave that for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Well, I think that was called urban sprawl from Miami. I know all about that. Before I start, my name is Chuck Hill. Thank you, City Commissioners, for allowing me to say a few words regarding this proposed subdivision. Counselor for Developer used the word project up here tonight. That's exactly what you're going to get here. This is a project. As I said, my name is Chuck Hill. I'm the manager member of 9293 Silver Lake LLC, which owns the property that this address contains, which is directly in back of the proposed project. I own several businesses, but one of the businesses I own is a real estate development corporation. I like business. I like to see a fellow developer make money. I never contested a proposed zoning change until now. Actually, I'm on the other side of the fence in Newport, Rhode Island, I think this week. Hopefully I'll win. Unfortunately, this proposal is simply a wealth transfer. A few individuals will make money, and many residents of Silver Lake will see their home values decrease. And Jim, you're lucky if it's $100,000. I'll make a bet with you. And some will see their home values decrease significantly. Yours truly. Many homes on Silver Lake are historical value. My property is close to 86 years old. Dan's has the nicest house on Silver Lake, in my opinion, is 100 years old. Just last month at the planning meeting, a fellow neighbor came up with a book about the history of the homes of Silver Lake. So cool. That doesn't happen in Fort Lauderdale. Thank you. As you know, many of the homes on Silver Lake are 1 to 2 acres of land, and the homes average 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. Unfortunately, this is a far cry from what is proposed here tonight. Homes averaging under 2,000 square feet on postage stamp lots. And with all due respect, since I grew up part of my life in a trailer, this is a glorified trailer park. As you know, you already approved 256 new apartments on North Silver Lake. And I recently read online that only 3 people showed up to contest that zoning change. This here tonight is not 3 people. Although I'm not looking forward to having 256 new apartments down the street, and I wish it would not happen, but if I were a commissioner, I would prove it. I would do the same. Because you're just continuing what is already there. Like-kind use of the land. I get it. Also, you or your fellow commissioners approved 234 housing units on the former Silver Lake Country Club. Once again, I wish it would not have happened, but unfortunately the gentleman went out of business after many decades of helping make Silver Lake what it is today. I understand completely your decision or your past commissioner's decision. I would do the same. Once again, I get it. He needs to try and recoup his investments. We roughly have 100 homes on Silver Lake Drive, and you or your fellow commissioners already approved 256 new apartments on one side of the lake, another 234 housing units on the other side of the lake, for a total, like Dan said, of 490 new housing units. Just imagine what this area will look like with a 500% increase in housing units. And you are here tonight to decide if you should add another 265 housing units. Tract homes. I always referred to my house here at Silver Lake as a country home. And this urban sprawl is not something I signed up for. And I'm sure many of the people in this room did not sign up for that as well. In closing, is my understanding that the Silver Lake area has always been one of the most desirable areas to live in Leesburg. And I am told it is almost the most desirable area to live in Leesburg. You have a duty to protect this historically significant area. Silver Lake is the jewel of Leesburg. This is why we have zoning regulations in America. There's plenty of land around Lake County to build tract homes, project homes, as the counselor said, without hurting the residents of some lifelong residents of this beautiful area. Thanks for listening to me, commissioners.
Thank you.
So I was a resident for 15 years on Overton Drive. You familiar with that?
No, I'm not, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's along the golf course. Do you know how many residents, I know you know how many's there, and you know how many we're bringing in if we do this. How many residents when you go up Morningside or from Silver Lake east to Radio Road, how many residents are there?
You mean behind Silver Lake?
No, between Silver Lake and Radio Road, running north and south, from the east of Silver Lake to Radio Road. How many?
I have no idea. I just know around the Silver Lake area is probably less than 100.
Okay.
But I don't look at those people as being actually on Silver Lake. I kind of think they're...
I was on Overton Drive. I could walk out my backyard and play golf. That's Silver Lake.
Okay.
No?
Okay. So, do you know how many?
No, I don't. I just was curious because I know it's hundreds.
I know. If we total that up, I mean, you're talking about if you...
The only reason I say this is just... Again, I'm trying to get back to, it's hard for me to process. I try to get back to trying to move forward.
Sure, I understand.
And, turning this into, I understand real estate. You're not going to go out and appraise my house and then look at the mobile home next door to it and get my value. You're going to go do a comp. If you got to go 2 miles, you're going to get a comp that's comparable to my house. But my point is I love the conversation as far as how we need to develop it, and I'm still trying to do that. I think that throwing darts at the developer and all them about how they're building tract homes and it's going to be a bunch of junk, I don't know. I just came from a different era where you try to work through these and see if we can come together instead of throwing insults and telling people this is what you're going to do.
Well,
so I was just trying to get to it, but thank you.
Yeah, that's good that you're doing that because you have a perspective from an outside area, just like me. I currently live between 3 different homes, and you could see, as this one woman said before me from Miami, the urban sprawl situation. Sure. And that's unfortunate because, this Silver Lake area, I bought this property for a quick flip, and after 6 months, I'm kind of digging it. I kind of like the area. Why? Because it's like some other people said here tonight. There's bald eagles in your backyard, and it's open space, and you can yell outside the window at 3 in the morning, whatever you want. Oh, sorry, I didn't say that. You know, you could do whatever you want in this part of the world. You're not like even $20 million homes down in South Florida are 20 feet away from each other. I mean, this is the advantage of this area. This is a country home. This is a country home to me, at least. Maybe to people, some people think this is a country home, but it is to me. So it's interesting to see your perspective coming from a different area. With regard to this proposal, I mean, this is Plan A. This is Plan A from a developer. I'll be taking bets if anybody wants to meet me in the parking lot. If you disapprove this tonight, there's going to be a Plan B. There's going to be a Plan B. And there might be a Plan C and D and E. He's maximing out the project. That's what he does for a living. I understand what he does for a living. If he was a publicly traded company like Lennard or Pulte or Toll, of course, wouldn't do a project like this. Those guys have to maximize the profits to their. They don't care about Silver Lake, and they never will. They're here to make a buck. I understand it. I was here at Silver Lake to make a buck. I didn't care about the area until I started hanging out at the house, and then I began to like the area. So unfortunately, it's flipping for me if that area gets if anything gets developed back there. But
okay, sir, we're going to have to start wrapping it up.
He
Thank
addressed,
you.
I thought.
Thank you, though.
You did plenty of talking before, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Mayor, is it?
Yes.
Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
So my question, Mayor, my question would be, Al, I mean, for me, we're bringing this back on, when's second reading?
December 14th. So this is strictly first reading.
Great. My question is, so second reading, or let me re-ask the question a different way. Based on conversations, would they be allowed to make changes to things between first and second reading, or does it have to come second reading as is?
Yes, they can make changes.
Okay. Because I was thinking of tabling, I really would like to get with the developer based on some of the great points that were brought out tonight, and to see what our options would be. So.
Commissioner Hurley, you're absolutely right. This does not solidify what is being finalized on the 14th of December. So there's plenty of time to bring up changes and suggestions and whatnot. For one, I have never seen what these houses are supposed to look like. So the fact that they're being called track houses and dumps and one step up from trailers and everything, I haven't seen the pictures of the diagram. So I would like to see those.
Okay, so that'll give us time, because I definitely would like to spend some time with the development and see if we can put what I would like to see, the changes I think that would be appropriate based on this area. So. And
yes,
I talked all night, so I'll stop. And heck, I got an applause. You do know that's the third one I've had in 8 years, so thank you.
Cindy Clark. I live at 9145 Silver Lake Drive. My husband and I also have a piece of property on 44. We're one of the properties that go from Silver Lake onto 44. So I can look at it at both ways. I will tell you that I like the idea of will they come back with a Plan B? Because again, we understand that a development is going to happen. We know it. But we really humbly want to try and be part of the process to see if we can. My mother also lives on Silver Lake, and she's right down there by Dan and by Dr. Mead and Chris. And I just think, there's just... But the other thing is, I'll offer my property, because whatever traffic study they've done, I dare say it just blows my mind, because And we've had 4 deaths on 44. I told the planning committee, I sat one afternoon while the FHP was putting a young lady in a body bag. And it was right behind our house. But you've got a tremendous traffic issue on 44. And then if you're going to have all these developments, it's going to come back onto Silver Lake. We know that, and especially with all the apartments and everything that's going in. We know we're going to have more traffic. We just need more thought put into this and there's just got to be more of a happy medium, or it would be nice if that could happen. And for them not to just put in this 1,600 square foot, 1,800 square foot house right behind some of these large homes and the area. But again, we understand there's going to be development, but please let us be a part of that process. Please get another traffic study done. And again, they can sit out on the front of my property or they can sit out on 44. But it's gotten where even when I pull out on the 44, I have to sit there sometimes now and wait 2 or 3 minutes just to get a clear shot to come out there. And now you're talking about this. Also, I don't know if everybody in this room knows, but we're talking about the entrance being off of Clark Street, which is on 44, and that has no bearing with my family. So we never even knew there was a Clark Street. But right down east of there is Cemetery Lane, and they are now, it's less than a mile from Clark Street, and they are putting in another development there. That's where all the water lines are going. So you're talking another 250 houses to go in there, all within this, and you're talking about 44, and then they surely come around Silver Lake. Again, I know I've disagreed with people on traffic before, so I'm not going there. I know we're going to have traffic. I know we're going to have development. But please let us have more say in what is going to be there. I mean, it would be appreciated by each and every person in here. We all know it's coming.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark.
Commissioners, again, I'm Luke Zachary, 33811 Spring Drive, Leesburg, Florida, 34788. Real quick, before I get to what I was going to talk about for the second time, this is my daughter, Emma, and I want to thank the commissioners here tonight. It was important for me to show my daughter tonight how government works and how this dialogue goes. Commissioner Hurley, I'd like to thank you specifically. You've responded very well to the crowd and what it is that we're asking. And again, I think that nobody in this room is opposed to developing. We just have to do it responsibly, not for us, not just for the adults in this room, for the children in this room. I'm not bringing my daughter as a prop. I don't engage in that. But it was important for me, for her to see all this. She wanted to come up with me, so that's why I'm bringing that up. Now, as far as this traffic, all right, now this study that was done, I know that it did not include the developments that have already been approved, in addition to the recommendation here tonight to bring on 265 more homes. So with that, there was about 179 cars that it allowed, not including the 2 developments that have already been approved. All right? So we need to seriously take this into consideration. Everybody in here has a smartphone. It's 2020. I know you do. A Google search of County Road 44, Leesburg, Florida, reveals 7 headlines for fatal car accidents on the first page alone. Regardless of the lies the developer will have you believe with respect to traffic along this road, it is already above maximum capacity. How many more people must die? This is a very busy road at its current single-lane capacity, and it will unfortunately lead to more fatal car accidents. As a first responder, my team has been activated for numerous emergencies, including Hurricane Irma down in Miami and Hurricane Maria down in Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, in my career, I have carried more dead bodies than I care to have done. But that is the reality, okay? Make no mistake, when emergency responders are already stretched too thin and there are too few resources to respond to these accidents in a timely manner, it results in more death for the people who are trapped on those evacuation routes. And folks, that is an evacuation route, County Road 44. I implore you to do a responsible study, including all of the facts about what you're proposing here tonight. That is all.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ludwig Bedetta. I live on Silver Lake, 8917 Silver Lake. One of the things that I think that is the main concern that makes this place special is Silver Lake. Okay? It's really a park. People walk. It's very nice. So, but I know you guys are going to get your way, and we're going to have more traffic. And traffic has built up on there considerably in 10 years, you know? So I'm thinking of a way to limit the traffic. How can you do it? Make it a one-way. Half the traffic's gone. And cut the macadam with a path for people. Bikes. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move ahead. We have not approved. We've sent up until G to the state for their review. We still have to do H and I. So if somebody would introduce H, we'll do that, and then I.
I'll introduce.
Hold on, yes.
Okay. I'm Rita Ward, 8839 County Road 44. And I would definitely agree with everything presented about the overload on the roads and the school that are already overtaxed, and the harm to the wildlife and the drop in property value. But I have been trying to figure out the math on this. It's zoned for 4 to an acre, but it's only when you take all 83 acres that it comes out like that. If you subtract the 27, then we're down to the maximum of 5 to an acre. And when you take off the extra area that's been switched from 25 feet to 35 feet for the buffer, even more acreage is lost. So I don't see how they even qualify for what you currently have zoned. And I would say, like the last gentleman or two, rezone it.
Thank you. Sir, is this a repeat?
I just want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Am I to understand that there's 125 homes up to here? Is that what?
I think it's the entire area. Right now, you're pointing to Silver Lake.
From what the lady was planning, said something about 125 homes on this side, and then 125 homes on this side?
Candy, you want to go up to the speaker, please?
Yes, ma'am. I believe it's a total of 265 homes throughout the colored area that you see on the map.
They come to Ostrander piece.
Is that correct? It's 100.
The difference is the other line was from.
I think he's talking about the Ostrander piece. I think the consultant put on the first slide where the county had 65. I think that was 125 that the county approved. I think that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
I'm just wondering where the rest of it is all going to be in here.
Where you see color on the map, sir, where you see color on the map, you're going to have lots with single-family structures on them. Well, sir, that indicated that at some time in the past, Lake County had approved a plat in that area that was going to permit a certain number of homes in that area. Since then, I believe that plat has been extinguished so that it's no longer there. So I don't quite understand your question, but there's going to be 264 homes.
But it's only 125 out to that first line. Seems like an awful lot of homes going into that small area.
No, sir, it's the entirety of the colored area you see up there. Yellow, brown, green, all of the color you see on the map is 264 single-family residential structures. Some of the lots are larger, some of the lots are smaller.
Thank you, Mrs. Harper.
And I'll just say for clarity, just to make sure you understand, somebody said make the road one way and somebody said change the zoning out there. We can't, neither one of those are in the city, so just so you're aware, we can't do the road or we can't change the zoning because it's not ours.
Okay, let's go ahead and do G and H, please.
I'll introduce, ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 83.51 plus minus acres from Lake County urban low density to City of Leesburg estate residential for property generally located east of County Road 44 and south of Clark Street as legally described in sections 1, 9, 10, and 16, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Okay, this vote is strictly to send this for review to the state. Roll call, please.
Do we need a motion?
Make a motion
No,
to transmit.
thanks.
Make a motion to
Sorry.
transmit to the state.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Well, let me ask a question for clarification. We're submitting this to the state, but Jay just brought up possibly trying to get this site plan amended or reduced. Can you help me understand that?
First off, my recommendation would be to approve this and send it to the state. That way, the developer can continue to move forward, and you get back your state comments, because it's required, because it's a large-scale amendment. You can always delay and postpone second reading.
Which will allow us to make any changes.
So you can get what you want to do in the process. If you want to delay it later and get with the developer or get more information or request those things, I would do that at second reading. And then at second reading, after that's a public hearing, and then at that time, if you don't get the information you want there and you're not ready to vote for or against it, you can delay it at second reading.
It would go into next year.
So this doesn't bind you at all. This does keep it moving down the road. It sends it up to state. In fact, you'll get more input from the state on what they think is if this is a good or not a good development. And then you'll have that to throw in the mix.
Okay, I vote yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay. Would somebody...
I'll introduce, ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 83.51 plus minus acres from Lake County A agriculture, Lake County R1 rural residential, and Lake County R3 medium residential district to City of Leesburg PUD planned unit development to allow for single-family uses for property generally located east of County Road 44 and north and south of Clark Street as legally described in sections 1, 9, 10, and 16, Township 19 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
This would be handled the same way as the last one, that any changes that come up by second reading, we can make changes to the state. Could we have a motion to please forward to the...
We don't need to transmit this.
We don't need to transmit. Okay, fine. We're going to move ahead to J, civic funding. If you remember the meeting we had the last time, we talked about $10,000 to downtown business. There also was a request since then from the Boys and Girls Club, the Chamber, the Arts, and the CDC. Were there any other on this list?
Is that 5, Madam Mayor?
I have 5.
Well, if there's no others, I'm good with 10,000.
Why don't we hold on for a minute until it gets quiet in here again?
You got
No, I think you just said there's 5. She just named 5 groups.
I've only gotten 5 written down. They might have omitted
Okay,
one.
I know where
since the
John's
last
going.
time.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I remember we had 5.
Mayor, would you say those 5?
I think the Boys and Girls Club came in and
Since then.
that
yeah.
made 5.
Okay. Downtown Business, Boys and Girls Club, Chamber, the Arts, and the CDC.
Then you got some?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boys and Girls CDC, Downtown Business Association, Leesburg Area Chamber, and the Fine Arts.
Right.
So I make a motion, we give them each 10,000.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
I think Jay might have something.
No, but I thought we had discussed, didn't we have amounts laid out, Al, that we gave you to look at?
Not that I recall.
No, this is over and above the amounts we originally gave. This was the additional 50,000.
I apologize, I'm sorry. Yes, amen, yes.
And that is West Leesburg CDC.
Yeah, West Leesburg, correct.
So my vote's yes.
Roll call. Yeah, go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes again.
Commissioner Christian?
And I say yes. I just want to say to the groups that submitted from the Boys and Girls Club, Ms. Porter, I think you've done a fantastic job. Max Parker and the Chamber, I think these groups have done a fantastic job submitting things to us, and I think it's why it's so easy to vote yes. So yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, informational reports. We have nothing under that. City attorney items.
Nothing out there.
City manager items.
Let me give you a quick CARES update. The county, I did 2 things. I passed out to you a bullet point cheat sheet and a sample note draft application. So where we're at in the process to get the $1.2 million out to the business community here in Leesburg is we did receive review and approval from the county on our spend plan. Lake County has forwarded all the municipal spending plans to the state. Mr. Cole indicated that he hoped to hear from the state with some word on how to move forward this week. With that news, the county is having some consideration over whether they're going to get a short-term note to issue out the money before using our cash and then reimbursing us. So to be continued on that. My recommendation to you will be that is if the county doesn't have the cash, that we go ahead and use the cash. That way the money gets out and then we'll get reimbursed. We'll worry about that at the next meeting. And there's a typo in there. It says October 6th. I should say October 26th. So at the 26th meeting, I will be coming to the commission for a recommended spending authority, whether that's through county grant funds or we use our own. On the 26th as well, that's to be determined. I hope to get out the grant application forms, which I put a draft before you. If you have any comments on that, get back to me. I did the applications in 4 segments, so there'll be a Category 1, a Category 2, a Category 3, Category 4 grant. Category 3 was the most complex, so I gave that one to you to save some trees. What I'd like to do is if the grants go out, the applications go out on the 26th, I'd like to have an initial review period 2 weeks after that, so by November 6th. I'll put together a small committee. That committee will be made up of essentially myself. I'll use Dan Miller and Ken Thomas to review the apps, and we'll come up with spending recommendations. I don't know if we need to come back to the commission on that. If you can, we'll put a step in there, or we just approve them with your authority that we can talk about on the 26th to speed up the process as we deliberated before. That should hopefully get the money rolling if the dates are all right and we get the go-ahead from the county to get money rolling out by November 9th.
If this is going out to businesses, why do we have the planning and zoning and the housing office looking at these?
My office for just general admin, expediency, and keeping it moving.
Right, I didn't mention that one.
Planning and zoning because they have some specific insight on what businesses are downtown.
Okay. But what about
and
SAP
different stuff.
27?
And planning and zoning was also in charge of the business occupational tax with the building department, so they kind of know who is and who isn't businesses. And then housing, I wanted Ken on there for diversity.
Okay, question. Are you automatically sending these applications out?
What my plan to do was to get back with IT and get them online, get them posted in easy to get spots, get with Lakefront TV, get with the chamber, and then as soon as we have word that the county is letting us let the process, we'll try to do our best to get the market flooded. I've been in touch with probably a handful of business people, so I know the chatter's going down, and we'll just spend the next few weeks getting the word out as best we can and making it easy as possible, whether people want to do it the old-fashioned way and fill out paper, whether they want to do it online, however. Just the application is to make record, to keep the feds happy, keep the county happy.
Okay, once this is finalized, can you let the commission know that this is ready to go?
That's my intent, is to come back to you on the 26th,
Okay.
prior to everything being let, where everything will be okay. I'll get more direction from you on whether you guys want to come back and review the grants like we do in the FSL fashion, or whether you just want to give that authority to the committee or myself based on the criteria that we set up in the spend plan.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the commission?
I thought in prior meetings, and I didn't like this, I thought we were going to process them on a first-come, first-served basis.
We are, and that's in the app.
Okay, and I'm a little bit troubled by that, but I guess that's the only fair way to do it. I mean, people are calling me wanting to know the timeline. It's going to be just a horse race. Who can get their paper, who can fill out the form the fastest?
Well, yes. And all I can say is the county's still sitting on $12 million that they haven't got rid of yet. So I know, I think there's trepidation that, oh, they're going to miss the bus, but...
And that's my other question. I mean, why is there a funding problem? They have the money. It's been downstream to the county.
There's not a funding problem. The money's not getting out.
Okay, I misunderstood you. I thought, okay.
And some of Commissioner, I think, excuse me, Mayor, I think with the criteria, some people are having issues with the payroll documents and things like that. So some of the applications are being processed and being returned and having to redo. So a lot of people are still trying to navigate through the application and make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed so that the federal dollars are reimbursed and not say, hey, you didn't do it right, so you owe us money. So I think for some business that I've talked to, they're still navigating and trying to cross all those T's and dot the I's. And they extended it, and
they did extend it again, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. The reason I asked that, I'm getting a lot of questions on this one because everybody wants to know the timing because they know it's a horse race. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
okay.
My suggestion, and I think I mentioned this last time, would be to give a 1 week window that, like, if you get your application in that week, we're going to treat all those first week the same. So people aren't, because we're not going to get enough applications in the first week to give it all out anyways. But then people won't be stressed about, I have to beat the deadline and rush down to City Hall and kind of what happened with the other loan programs in the past.
Yeah, and I don't know if I do you better or worse, but I put a 2 week window.
Oh, okay, well, I'm fine with that. And the other thing is, whatever we decide on, like, I absolutely would prefer that staff, once we approve it, that they make those decisions. I don't want loans coming back to the commission for us to talk about who gets what.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't become political too. Just let the staff. We set the criteria and let the staff, meet that need.
We'll follow it out. That's right. Okay.
That's it, Mayor.
Thank you.
So we can blame Al.
That's right.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
I think it was a great meeting tonight. Great insight from residents around Silver Lake. I think as the commission has to recognize that there's no right or wrong answer. There's no one size fits all. As also as Alice said, we got a pioneer agreement going down the road. We have one of the premier spots in Leesburg, so of course people want to be there. And I was happening to go down Yalaha, so we were developing down off for going towards Yalaha. So Leesburg is growing. People want to be here. I even encountered a teacher who works in Orange County, but she lives actually in Leesburg. So people are buying houses in Leesburg and still working in Orange County because the houses are a little cheaper here. So when I hear people say tract houses, I see a certified Florida school teacher live in one of these tract houses. So there is a market for this. It is not for low income. These are for professional people. So this is where we are. Our city is growing. We kind of talk about the school system. We talk about the mall. I think Commissioner Hurley mentioned about the mall. But that's what makes commerce happen, when people come and move into our city and spend money in our city, not just visit, but actually live here. So I think it's going to be very interesting the next few months. I think we're going to see a lot more of these type of developments coming to us for approval or denial. So it's going to be a great exercise on civic government and planning our future of our city. With that being said, on behalf of the CDC, there's a community forum tomorrow. The Chamber of Commerce and the CDC is going to have some of our candidates who are looking to, I guess, do what we're doing. And so we'll be here at the Venetian Center. We'll be live on the Chamber of Commerce YouTube. So various questions have already come in. We also have our school board candidates who will be here to ask specific questions, Mayor, about Leesburg schools and what their visions are. It won't be a debate, as you said, on the national scene. We want to hear what they got to say, what their vision is for Leesburg. So it's not a gotcha moment. It's what do you know? How do you feel about the future of Leesburg? So voters can have informed choices.
What is the timing for that?
6 o'clock, 6 to 9, to be right here at the Venetian Center. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Well, maybe we should have made all the candidates sit through tonight's meeting to kind of screen out and make sure that they still want to do this. But no, I appreciate it. And obviously, for obvious reasons, I stayed out of the discussion tonight. But I do think one thing that anytime these issues come up that really sets Leesburg apart is the commission's willingness to engage with residents, to let them talk. You know, if you've ever been to another city or another county, it rarely works this way. It's you're on the clock, you're done, no questions. And I think that's an important thing that this commission's done. I hope to see that continue in the future. Thanks.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes, just actually, I have just a couple things real quick. Al, as a follow-up on Silver Lake, has mowing commenced?
Yes,
They're in action.
that's what I understand. Spoke with Riley about it right before the meeting started.
Number two, what is there that we can do, Fred, to make it where we don't have to go through this fight every 6 months? I mean, there's got to be some options for us where we can just mow it and send them a bill, hire it out. I mean, is there anything we can do other than the processes we're already doing?
Years ago, the city did mow property and put a lien on it, and the city manager at that time and the commission decided they didn't want to be in the mowing business. And the legislature passed the code enforcement process, which, as you all know, is cumbersome and largely ineffective in the short term to get anything done. And that's what's been used ever since. You can certainly, I think that ordinance might still be in effect, just not used. I'll check. It hadn't been used in 20 years probably, but if it's there, you could mow it and put a lien on it. That's an option. Other than that, if you follow the code enforcement process, it requires that you give them a notice, an opportunity to cure, and then after that you give another notice. They go before the magistrate. She gives them a judgment and an opportunity to cure, and then you get a lien against the property and it's still not mowed. So if you want it mowed, mowing it is the only way to get that done.
Well, I just know this has been something that we keep dealing with over and over since Silver Lake sold out. And of course, since we so greatly annexed it, we keep getting tattooed because the grass ain't mowed instead of the county. And I just get tired of getting tattooed on it. So maybe look at what the options would be and just tell them we've decided to do it, whether we do it or not. Maybe that'll spurt. And my second question was, I'm trying to understand, do we have to go with the lowest bid when we send something out?
No.
Correct. So what I'm wondering about is, you know, we just spent, I want to say 90, what do we spend on the airport pond?
Like 90 grand. I think we only had one bid on that too, if I recall correctly.
But we spent 90 grand out there. And if I remember right, the scope of work, it was supposed to be cut 5 feet below the water. It's already 2 feet out of the water because they didn't do it. Then today, You know, we just paid to have, we did a bid, the lowest bid, and had the pond right here at the community center, but we had 8 of our guys out in waist-deep water today doing what we just paid somebody to do. And I'm not sure why we're doing that. I don't know why we keep taking the lowest bid and bringing these people in and not getting the work done right, and then having to either hire somebody else, redo it really quickly, or use our staff to get it done. It just don't seem to make sense to me. So I'd like us to look at, there's got to be some kind of criteria, because we've had a lot of work done. I mean, we've done the beaches around Venetian Gardens and different areas, but then it's like, you know, we'll spend a lot of money like we did in Beverly Shores, getting that done and getting it done right. But to me, $90,000 to clean that pond was a lot of money. And now it's already, you know, by the time the year's over, it's going to look like it did. And I think that spending a little extra money to get it done so they stay like Beverly Shores or Venetian Gardens is something we really need to look at doing.
I'll get back to you on that response, because I need to dig into what the specs were on the AP pond, what we did. I think there's some misconception about what was going to be done versus what got done and what was in the contract, so let me go back and clarify that. And number 2, on the other issues with other contracts we've let, like this pond, for example, look, frankly, I've noticed a little bit of a maintenance lull in this summer that I didn't think was up to our standards. So Public Works Director's on notice about that. So the guys in that pond could be referenced to some of my yelling about things not looking right. And those answers came back as shifting some of the contracts around, rebidding some stuff, changing out the floor. So my guess is on that is probably reaction to me yelling at some folks.
But didn't we just pay to have that done?
This? I don't think so, but I'll double check.
Okay. Well, I just was wanting to see, I mean, if we're going to pay to have money to do things, I'd like to see it do good and last. So,
well, we've made a lot of investment in some of these areas, and we need to keep it tip top.
Sure. And I appreciate y'all making this a long meeting, since I've only got 2.5 more months. That's all for me.
By the way, you're down to 5 meetings, and that's it. Yeah.
Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Mayor Dennison?
Nothing tonight, thank you. Shall we adjourn? We are adjourned.